tale of woe that you've experienced over the last 5 years. Do not forget the hardships that you've gone through. Do not forget the myriad of lies that have been told to you. That recently I've been aware that persons have been placing pamphlets within the homes of other individuals throughout the constituency of San Fernando West, indicating on a number of occasions that I did not vote on certain bills and I didn't indicate my voice within the Senate. But the reality is, my friends, that in most of those bills, I was not even in the Senate. I was not a senator then. So do not be fooled by the lies that would be told to you. These are the things, my friends, that when I walk about and I hear those cries from those people, they upset me greatly. Let us stay on the clean side of politics that we began together as a nation. Let us move this nation forward through bringing back jobs within our society, through bringing back proper representation, tangible, accessible representation, by bringing back a UNC administration to the people of this country under Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and really get Trinidad and Tobago working again. Thank you very much.
No, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, no, no.
Live from the United National Congress virtual platform, on the ballot now, the candidate for San Fernando East, Monifa Andrew.
Good day, Trinidad and Tobago. A special greetings to my political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, for recognizing my abilities and giving me this opportunity. I also say thank you to our entire UNC family. Good day to my people of San Fernando East constituency. It is with honor and humility that I stand here as your representative, embarking with you on a journey to improve the quality of life for us all in our constituency. I make mention of this because I want you to know where I came from and how hard I've worked. I'm from a single parent family of a humble beginning. My mother is and continues to be a tower of strength and inspiration to me. From her, I learned the value of humility, sacrifice, and service to the Almighty. My mother gives not because she has plenty, but because she knows what it is to not have. Therefore, her values to me, it's all about sharing and service to others. I have a passion for working with children, youth, and being involved in community activities. In particular, I believe in developing young people to instill a sense of confidence and belonging so that they too can secure their rightful place in society. I wish to recognize and to thank my many supporters and hard-working members of my campaign team. I value your support, and I look forward to our team doing great things as we work to bring home San Fernando East into the progressive and embrace of the United National Congress. As I walk and interact with the people of San Fernando East, I am amazed at the outpouring support and warmth from the people. Sadly, many of them speak also about numerous concerns and grievances within their communities: lack of jobs, crime, drugs, failing businesses, dilapidated infrastructure, and general sense of neglect and abandonment. Many speak of being taken for granted with little or nothing to show for it. To the young man from Pleasantville who desperately seeking a way out of poverty, when you said, if the PNM win again, we doom. Those were the words from that individual. I say to him today, take courage. Change is coming under the rising sun. To the residents on Sipera Road, train line, they are living in a very impoverished circumstances, struggling daily to make ends meet. I say to you all, I have heard your cries. I say, fear not. I am here to give you representation you deserve and will finally receive. Under the rising sun of the UNC, a new day is coming for the people of San Fernando East. Give me and the UNC the opportunity to improve your lives. I know firsthand the gut-wrenching feeling of neglect. I know the heartache of being unemployed. I know about poverty, and I definitely know about hunger. I can relate to you. I stand here before you and say I understand life's challenges. To the people of my constituency, you have been denied and taken for granted for too long. Stand up and take that first step with me for a better way of life. Give me and the United National Congress the opportunity to prove to you what you rightfully deserve. I have a vision for San Fernando East. A little I will share with you. Establish a technical and vocational school to train young people and others in acquiring technical, craft, and trade skills. A startup and business mentorship program will be instituted to support the startup of micro and small business enterprises. I would also like to create a jobs and skill bank to facilitate employment, which is so important today. Training and business opportunities. In conjunction with the TTPS, improve the level of police presence and patrols in the communities. Establish homework and after-school care centers, which is also my passion. I love to work with preschoolers. Attend to deficiencies in the public utilities service to ensure adequate water supply, better roads, proper drainage, improved street lighting, and expansion of postal services. Develop support system for the micro, small, and medium-sized businesses in order to restore confidence in the business community. And ensure recreational facilities are adequately restored and maintained, most importantly, maintained. If there are persons who still doubt that all manner of things are possible, I present myself to you. You have to believe that things can change, that this time it will be different. I would like to see it, that your voices are heard in order to make that difference. I say to you this day, change is coming to San Fernando East. Embrace it. I have accepted the challenge, and I will seize every opportunity to lay the foundation upon which we can build a solid future together. I am willing, I am able to work with all persons across San Fernando East constituency to create an inclusive, safe, and thriving community. In closing, I say to you with absolute conviction that I will give my very best throughout this journey. I will work with all of you to embrace our community and to enhance our community. As we rise together as one. Thank you.
This is the virtual campaign. On the ballot. Why wait? The time is now.
What time it is? Now is the time for action.
Live from the United National Congress virtual platform. On the ballot now. The candidate for Laventille East Mover, Kareem Beard.
Good night, UNC family. Good night to our honorable and most esteemed political leader. Good night to all my colleagues. Good night to UNC family. And most of all, good night to Laventille East Mover. I am the UNC candidate for the area, seeking your assistance to get the sun rising again in my community. I am no stranger to the community. As where I was born, I grew up there. I walk on the same roads. I travel on the same roads. I feel the pain. I understand what it is to not have water. I understand what it is to not have your garbage collected on time. I understand your frustrations. I understand your needs and your wants. I understand how fed up you are of the same thing happening over and over again. Tonight, it hurts me. It hurts as a young man growing up in this community, seeing the same things for the past years. Tonight it hurts to understand that a young man or a young woman not being able to do or benefit or provide for their families, having the needs and their wants, it hurts. Since this administration came into power, they told us to tighten our belts and to wean ourselves off of the government. How can we wean ourselves off the government when the government is taking everything away from us? I have walked through each community, and that forms this constituency. I have seen many heartbreaking things. People are suffering, the neglect, the loss of hope, the unhappiness, the regrets. I have seen families in need, families that are lost and don't know how the next bread is coming from, where to even start. I have heard the cries of the parents that is without money is an issue. I have understand that the youths asking for sustainable jobs, not just CPAP and URP, but they want to understand and they want to feel just like anyone else. Tonight, we in Laventille East are fed up. We want a change. We require a change. Our community is underfed and undernourished for years. Yet, the government, yet our MPs go silent. Yet, the voice in the parliament is non-existent. But a change is coming. I am fed up of hearing my community cry for better representation. I am fed up of my community crying and asking for their MP, not only after election day, but to see them after time and time again. A change is coming. A brighter and a better day is coming under United National Congress. The only way we can live is to grow. The only way we can grow is if we change. The only way we can change is if we learn. The only way we can learn is if we are exposed. And the only way that we can become exposed is if we throw ourselves out there. And Laventille East, I ask you to throw yourself out there. No longer do we look at the past and bask in the element of the past, but we look towards a brighter and a better tomorrow. Now is the time for you to stand up. Now is the time for you to not only stand up for your household, but now is the time where you stand for your community and say we had enough. And this government and the PNM cannot continue like this anymore. Now is the time for the rising sun to take control of Laventille East Mova. Many of us talk change, but change don't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes a footstep. It takes you and me holding hands, one after the other, me and you together as a team, family by family, friend by friend, teacher by teacher, bishop by bishop, each and every one in my community standing firm together and standing and saying, we had enough and we desire better. In the next 5 years, after Laventille East, you elect me as your new member of parliament. We have a task to do. We have 58 years of problems to fix. I cannot promise you that we fix each problem in 5 years. But I can promise you together, we can create the movement of change and the movement of the way forward under our beautiful leader. She has put a team together. with a passion to serve the people, serve the people, serve the people. And this is what Karim Beard is going to do to the members of Laventille East MOVA. Serve you, serve you, serve you. The time is now. We cannot afford to give up. Don't give up yet. We are at the end of the race. The bud had a bitter taste for years, but come August the 10th, sweet shall be our flower as you elect a brand new MP. So on August the 10th, Laventille East, I urge you, place your mask on your face, walk with your hand sanitizers, stand in line. Do not leave that line until you cast your ballot. And ensure that you make a stand and you signify that you had enough. We heard the talk of being red and ready. But in Laventille East MOVA now we are yellow and powerful. Because now you have a powerful man standing at the helm under our leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Better days are coming, brighter days are ahead. Hold fast, hold together. We can do this. We the people of Laventille. Now is the time. The time is like no other. Not tomorrow, not next day, but come August the 10th. I want you to place your X by the rising sun. It's about community. And the community is nothing without the people. I need you. You need me. We can do this together. Together, we are about to make history. Together, not separately, not divided, not by race, but together we aspire. Together we achieve. We are all in this together. And by God, with God our helper and God being our strength, we are going to raise that banner. We are going to fly our flag high in Laventille East MOVA and elect for the very first time something other than nothing. We are going to elect something that is powerful, something that has a voice, somebody that desires change, somebody that desires movement. So come August the 10th, Laventille East. Come August the 10th, Trinidad and Tobago. There is only one choice, and it is the rising sun. Put your X by the rising sun and vote for something other than nothing. Now is the time. I thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, no, no.
Live from the United National Congress virtual platform, on the ballot now, the candidate for Princestown, Barry Padarat.
Now is the time to vote them out. 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 Now is the time.
The Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the best Prime Minister Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen, and come August 10th, with your support, the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters of the UNC, today I stand before you as the youngest Member of Parliament to have served in the 11th Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago because of the vision of a transformational leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. As we go into the 12th Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, there will be younger ones that will then join me. Younger ones like young Karim Beard, who has a passion for his community. Younger ones like Saddam Hussein, who represents the diversity and the strength of the UNC. Younger ones like Vandana Mohit, who brings an enthusiasm like never before. Younger ones like Nabila Green, who will stand up against the corruption and the discrimination of the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, on August 10, 2020, your Peppermouth MP Barry Shiva Padarat will be on the ballot in Princestown. Go out and vote resoundingly for the United National Congress, not only in Princestown, but throughout the length and breadth of our country. We live in a democracy, not a dictatorship. We must not let our electoral process be like that in which occurred in Guyana. Do not allow the PNM to fool you. It is said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. The PNM has fooled our nation with Emailgate. They have fooled our nation with Ganjagate. They have fooled our nation with lies and desperation in a bid to hold on to office. While they conspire, I campaign. While they condemn, I campaign. While they condescend, I campaign. While they engage in crookery, I campaign. And while they cheat, I campaign. Their desperation knows no bounds. I have always said to you that my back is broad and my faith is strong. So I say tonight to you, yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thy rod and staff comforts me. You, the people of the UNC, you comfort me. They have spent 5 years attacking me in the most vile way. They have attacked our leader and our party. They have attacked my infant daughter. They have attacked my family, and they have attacked myself. The 5 years has not been easy, but it strengthens and fortifies me when I see how much it means to you, the people out there who depend on my voice and my fighting spirit. I have always said to you that if Kamla Persad-Bissessar can endure 30 years of attacks and still turn out to be the best Prime Minister Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen, then who am I? This election has been fought by the PNM on gimmicks, blatant lies, bacchanal, concocted stories, hooliganism, and wajang behavior. We in the UNC have fought this election as mandated by our political leader on plans, policies, ideas, transformational leadership, and job creation. On Monday, August 10th, you must ask yourself what is important to you. Is jumping up and down and winding down low in the road with a coquille broom going to improve your chances at a job? Is it going to put bread and butter on your tables? Is it going to put books in the bags of our children? Is it going to put a roof over your head? Kamla Persad-Bissessar does not want to challenge your children to sweeping challenges. She wants to challenge their minds through education. Kamla Persad-Bissessar wants to put laptops in the hands of our children, not coquille brooms. That is a difference in leadership in this election. In this election, you must not allow the elite few in the PNM to continue to ride your backs. You must want better for yourselves. No one can want something for you more than you want it for yourselves. Recently, I'm hearing Rowley saying, Kamla is talking about 50,000 jobs. Where are those jobs going to come from? Brothers and sisters, Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC can tell you it is not pie in the sky. When we stand on a platform with firm conviction in our body, mind, and thought, we know how we are going to create those 50,000 jobs. When we tell you about informatics and we tell you about robotics, research and development, ICTs, creating apps, youth involvement and engagement in education, we told them since 2015 how it could be done. When we did not win the election, according to them, we took it upon ourselves to go to the parliament. And 2015, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar provided a budget response. She did not cry, she did not complain, she didn't go after anyone personally, she didn't engage in insults. She took the time to create a master plan for Trinidad and Tobago. She told them when you were building hospitals, as she did, do not wait for the hospitals to be completed. You, in the meanwhile, could have created programs to transform the health sector by something called informatics. Informatics would have created 5,000 new jobs for young persons in this country, which would mean computerizing the hospital records. You did not have to wait for the hospitals to be completed, and that was a training under Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and a thought in terms of creating new jobs. When she said robotics, there's new technologies and new techniques that are used in teaching, in the education sector, in the health sector, in the business sector. That is the vision of a visionary and a progressive leader for Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, they have spent all of their time not talking about policy and plans that will take our young people forward. Kamla Persad-Bissessar has done more for young people in this country than any other prime minister. And that is why we can stand proudly on this platform and say, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. You see, on this platform tonight, you will not hear about a PNM candidate who has provided bills to a UNC MP for the $5 million that is missing from the Carifesta. Tonight, I want to ask the Honorable Prime Minister whether or not he traded the candidacy for a sitting PNM candidate in exchange for them hushing up with respect to the missing $5 million in Carifesta. Tonight, you will not hear on this platform about a PNM candidate who is in Princestown collecting more than building materials from a foster relative in the middle of the night. Tonight, I will not tell you about Westcott and the connection to Udicott. Brothers and sisters, on August 10th, you do not want a prime minister who's preoccupied with grooming, with geometry, with cat and dog politics. You want a prime minister about people. It is time that Rowley stop riding the backs of our citizens and instead he rides out into the sunset. Brothers and sisters, Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC has demonstrated a commitment to saving the lives of children. When we were in office, and I'll give you a personal experience that always gratifies me, and as a young person, it gives me the conviction that I know I am standing on the right side of history and the right side of destiny. In 2010, when Mrs. Persad-Bissessar became Prime Minister, 10 o'clock in the night, sitting at her desk in the office of the Prime Minister, she comes across a letter. And in that letter, a mother is pleading for life-saving surgery for her child. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar hands me the letter, and she says, please ensure you sort this out. So I sat there. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed. She looked up, she said, why are you still here? So I said to her, well, boss, it's 10 o'clock in the night. She said, let me tell you something. She said, if it was your child, you think you would be sleeping 10 o'clock in the night? She then instructed me to call that mother. When I called that mother could not contain herself when she heard it was the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago giving her child the chance of her life being saved. Kamla Persad-Bissessar did not discriminate whether it was a child from Penal and Davie. Brothers and sisters, the first child to be saved from the Children's Life Fund came from St. Anne's, the constituency of now being held by Stuart Young. A few months later, we received a postcard in the office of the Prime Minister, and on that card it said, thank you. So I had set it aside, and a few weeks later, I got the opportunity to open it because you get a lot of mail there, so you prioritized. And when I opened it, on the thank you card it said, thank you for giving my child the opportunity of life. I can rest in peace knowing that I did everything in my power to save my child. That child subsequently did not survive, but that mother and that family, they felt as though they had given their child every opportunity of life, and they could go to their maker knowing that that child had the opportunity to be saved. Brothers and sisters of the UNC, that is the compassion and the leadership that we must look at between the period 2015 and 2020, and compare that to what you had between 2010 and 2015. As young Kareem has told you tonight, as Sean Sobers has told you before, as Munifa has shared with you, You want leadership that will inspire you, that will take this country leaps and bounds ahead. You do not want a leader that will focus only on bacchanal, on dirty and nasty politics. That must be rejected, and you must reject the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, tonight I say to you, in our last days as we go forward in this general election, the PNM will become more desperate in their attacks. They will become more vicious. When they are wounded, they become the most vicious. I say to you, hold strong, hold strain. The sun, the rising sun, is ahead of us. Do not give up. Do not lose hope. The PNM will become more and more desperate. But the first seat to be declared in 2015 was Princestown. And I assure you, as night follows day, the first seat on August 10th, 2020 will be the seat of Princestown going to the United National Congress. Do not fall for the gimmickry. Do not fall for the dirty politics of the People's National Movement. Know that your candidate stands strong and stands with you and for you. You have a fighter in Princestown. You do not want a Babu Lal. You want a fighter who will stand up for you and stand with you. I've always said to you that I will be your voice, whether it's inside or outside of the parliament. And no one inside or outside of the PNM can shut me up. That is their modus operandi, to shut the UNC up. But as I said to them before, we not leaving. Brothers and sisters of the UNC and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I say to you, go out there and resoundingly vote for Kamla Persad-Bissessar, a diverse team of candidates, and restore good governance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago as we take our nation forward. Good evening, and may God bless our nation.
No, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no, no, no.
Live from the United National Congress virtual platform, on the ballot now, the candidate for Point Fortin, Tahaka Obika.
Point Fortin needs a focus on small contractors and workers. Under Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the government, she built 4 primary schools. Buenos Aires, Captiville government, Egypt government, and Chatham government. I was kicked out of the parliament for one day for simply asking why the Rowley PNM, after holding Point Fortin constituency in the parliament, could not find in 5 years to complete a school that was 90% complete in 2015. Kamla Persad-Bissessar built 4 primary schools in Point Fortin without a member of parliament that belonged to her party. Keith Rowley has built 0. While this happened, the PNM politicians in Point Fortin, the MP, the mayor, gone down to Clifton Hill Beach and Point, put salt water in their mouth so they can't talk. They're silent. So you see, as I've been making my walks in Point Fortin, what is clear to people in Point Fortin, that under the Rowley PNM is only great as Balize House, but pressure for Point Fortin people. You see, when Kamla Persad-Bissessar built those 4 primary schools, she ensured small contractors got a play. Because persons may wonder why I started with primary schools in a conversation that speaks to the nation. Small contractors had opportunities with these 4 primary schools and the Serval Life Center that she built. In addition to that, the hospital. But I was speaking today in Warden Road in my walks, because we finish in the constituency tomorrow morning. And there was a man there, a small contractor, a local businessman, saying that the small contractor in Point Fortin is under pressure, under Keith Rowley, and he has had enough. The Rowley PNM, even where there were projects in Point Fortin, where the small contractors got a start under Kamla Persad-Bissessar, like the hospital, he shut down the project for 2 years. And when the project was kick-started again, he kicked out all the small contractors from Point Fortin. And of course, small contractors come with workers from the community. So you know that there was no work, no bread, no food on the tables of families in Point Fortin as a direct result of the wickedness of the Keith Rowley team. And again, even if you cock your ears, you can't hear nothing. Nothing from the MP, nothing from the mayor. And that is the person who is contesting the seat against me. Joblessness, massive joblessness. So Trinidad and Tobago, Point Fortin, I speak to you tonight as a son of the soil, born and bred in Point Fortin. I speak to you tonight as a person who has served as a senator in your parliament for 3 years. I speak as a son of my father himself, at that time in 2010, a deputy political leader of NJAC, also serving as a high commissioner under this government, led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I encourage Point Fortin constituency to move into government. Move into government with Obika. Across the nation, we are feeling the groundswell. Across the nation, we are feeling the support for Kamla Persad-Bissessar, having laid the plans in UNC Plan 2020 since the debate, the budget debate in October last year. The nation has had enough time to deliberate over these plans. The nation has had enough time to understand exactly how we will deliver 50,000 jobs. And in Point Fortin, we've had enough time, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, 9 whole months to determine if this plan laid by Kamla Persad-Bissessar is in fact the best plan for Trinidad and Tobago. And the only thing that the PNM can find is someone looking for political relevance where there is none. So you will see on your social media platforms the distraction of the PNM. They are so desperate in their attempts to hold on to power that they go and they find a former minister who resigned. He resigned from the Keith Rowley cabinet. He leave it. Big bacchanal. Now he, the same person, Robert Lehant, they go on and they dust him off, fine him back, and they're begging him now to act as their spokesperson on finance, because you know the finance minister is a complete failure. But I want to tell Robert Lehant, Mr. Lehant, please find your political relevance elsewhere. In fact, the best thing politically that you have done was to resign from that failure of a cabinet led by the worst prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Christopher Rowley. Do not sully your good move by leaving to try to find political relevance where there is none. And in one phrase, the financial plans on UNC Plan 2020 are solid. They are solid plans. And the funds of the people of Trinidad and Tobago are safe, despite what the dusted off spokesperson of the PNM under Rowley is trying to convince you of. The funds are safe with the UNC. The Keith Rowley government has raided the Heritage and Stabilization Fund time without number. The latest raid is $10 billion, most of which has not reached the people of this country. So they have no moral place to speak on safety of funds. Now in Point Fortin, entrepreneur support is key. My platform in Point Fortin is one of wealth creation. People need to have control of their economic space. In New Village, in Chatham, in all the communities in Point Fortin. I have had several consultations before and during this campaign. and I've had these consultations with budding entrepreneurs in New Village, Denison and Sanchez could tell you that Obika supports their proposal for a strip mall so that within the community, they can have business being generated so that the money spins and wealth generates. In Chatham, Kokobe's daughter could attest to the consultations that we have held with the young men there, focused on agriculture in business. And I wish to declare my support for agripreneurs, agricultural entrepreneurs in Chatham and across the constituency of Point Fortin, wherever agricultural production is possible. Now, in Point Coco, Priya, ready to kickstart the cooperative project on the tilapia farm. One grave injustice done, 2 projects in fish farming, recognizing that the fish stock was under threat. Recognizing that the fish stock was under threat. Persons in Point Coco, persons in Ikakas decided to engage in fish farming projects, supported by successive governments in Point Coco. In Ikakas, the tilapia project was funded properly in 2015 by the Kamla Persad-Bissessar government. They simply needed the second tranche once the project got underway. As soon as the election dust settled and Keith Rowley came into office, they disbanded any funding whatsoever for the community of Ikakas. Now, the rest is history. In Ikakas, Lemesi and his team are raring to go with ecotourism and projects in fish farming. In Tishe village, the greatest injustice. Some young men on the margins with this COVID-19 restrictions placed upon them, selling the fruits and the vegetables opposite the basketball court in Tishe village, right next to the hospital where they're seeing wealth spinning and they're not getting work. The borough controlled by the PNM, controlled by the mayor, who is going up against me, remove the stall and push the goods aside and tell them they cannot sell there until they get a tent, a tent. So of course, Obika is a man of the people. The UNC have supporters. I got a tent sponsored by persons in the party. But I'm telling those young men, I'm telling the children of those young men in Tishe village, I'm telling the families, the grandmothers who are depending on these young men, the mothers, the sisters, the siblings, depending on these young men to bring home $1 when the day come, that vote for Obika. And you see a strip mall, you will get a nice, decent strip mall. Right facing the hospital. So that when people come to the hospital for business, as patients, as visitors, when they're passing through Tishe, they will get opportunity to sell, supported by the government. No borough corporation with no wicked PNM agenda can. And as my brother, the one that afraid, Barry Padarat has told you tonight, we are afraid. We are a vibrant team. We are a vibrant team of servants of the people, grounded in our communities, and we will deliver service to Trinidad and Tobago. Come the 10th of August with your vote. So I envision Point Fortin, a reclamation of pride, a place, a pride. The people of Point Fortin want to reclaim our place nationally and internationally. And when the ground report came to Point Fortin, my father, an historian, laid out that over the 50+ years that the PNM has held Point Fortin, they have delivered nothing to the people of Point Fortin. In fact, most of the things that the PNM are claiming in Point Fortin was delivered by the Americans, by Shell, by oil interests. It could be the hospital, it could be the road network, it matters not. Now, yes, Point Fortin has far to go because of the PNM. Because this Rowley government has decided to close down Petrotrin, Trinma operations. I want to speak directly to the ex-Petrotrin workers that this Rowley government will deny you come November, on the 2nd anniversary of their closing down of Petrotrin and Trinma. They will deny you your medical benefits. Now imagine you pay years, 30 years, 20-something years, 40 years, you're paid out of your salary every single month. That God spare you life into a medical plan that gives you as a right medical coverage. And this wicked Rowley PNM is taking that away from you. I tell you, if you're fed up by the wickedness of Rowley and his bunch of vagabonds, vote for Obika. You see, in the words of the song that we sing so well, we never get weary yet. We never get weary yet. 40 long years, we praise in the Lord, and we never get weary yet. You see, at the end of the tunnel, at the end of this political tunnel, you will see a light. And that light is the light of the rising sun of the United National Congress. Now, people in Point Fortin keep asking how we will deliver the 1,000 jobs. That forms part of this Plan 2020. And of course, on my social media platforms, I have 5 simple videos that explain and outline these things. The Tech Park in Point Fortin, completed under the Kamla Persad-Bissessar government, was left idle by this government. It will be filled because the companies need their approvals. Without approvals, they can't sell a bowl of corn soup from a kitchen. They will get their approvals. We will support them. And this park will create 300 sustainable jobs in companies that are servicing and supporting industry and the energy sector. The Cedras Economic Zone, Cedras to Moruga Economic Zone, will present investment opportunity from Captiville to Icacos to Erin and Buenos Aires. The entire Southwest Peninsula, agriculture-based manufacturing will be the key. And that is why I have not waited until I become your MP. I have already mobilized youth across the constituency of Point Fortin. In every village in Point Fortin, we are working with teams of young people to ensure that they get to be part of this plan, that they get their projects on stream. On the 4th of August, this week, this Tuesday gone, I hosted a wonderful career fair. We are pairing resumes with employers. Employers presented, and the only lamentation I have is I only have 600 resumes. I promised 1,000 jobs. So people of Point Fortin, bring your resumes to me. What is needed in Point Fortin is when a company is coming to Point Fortin, they must not be able to say, we cannot find a forklift operator, a sandblaster, an accountant, an economist. We must have the resumes so that we can look and see where the skill sets are, so that we can match them with the employers so that you can be placed in jobs, because we will create the jobs, you know. We will create the jobs. We want to make sure you get them. So bring your resumes to me. All over there is joblessness. And I've heard the cries, whether it's the Petrotrin workers callously fired by Keith Rowley, or even the former OAS workers who I had a meeting with last night. These brothers went through hell with a minister of labor that has abandoned them. Jennifer Baptiste Primus should be embarrassed to mount any platform in the rest of her political life, which is about to end on Monday, the 10th of August. Now, The cries of the unemployed in Point Fortin are also echoed across the nation. And there are stories of families torn apart. There's a young man that visited me from Point Fortin, and in the aftermath of the closure of Petrotrin, with the financial distress, his family was torn apart. There are many stories like this. Point Fortin, and all across the oil belt, whether it's Faizo, whether it's Marabella, just remember the wickedness of Keith Rowley and the closure of Petrotrin and Trinman, and vote them out. You see, the UNC will deliver 50,000 jobs to be created nationally under the government to be led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar. The National Transformational Plan will bring 1,000 jobs to Point Fortin. 100 new businesses will be focused to create an additional 3 to 5 jobs. The Land for the Landless program will get hundreds of families to shelter. Come to my office on Guava Road or Bonas and register for the Land for the Landless program. The Cedros Tamaruga Development Zone will transform the constituency of Point Fortin and across the southern corridor of Trinidad. Tech-voc education will return. Proper functioning health facilities will return, and childhood education will be focused on. My father came close to winning Point Fortin within 600 odd votes. Point Fortin is not a PNM safe seat. If you are supporting, if you are frustrated with the state of education in Point Fortin, as I told you, Keith Rowley has built not a single primary school. Kamla Persad-Bissessar built 4 without an MP. Vote Obika. Vote UNC if you want to bring back tech-voc education. Vote for Obika. Vote UNC. If you need land for your family and you are frustrated, if you are on land and this government, just as they did in Roberts Lane and Osborne Street in Captiville, Spring Trace, going to New Village, going to Warden Road, and they wanted to break down your houses. And I stood in the parliament and accused them of such, and they had to pull back that decision. If you need your land regularized, remember that Kamla Persad-Bissessar regularized Ravin Ranch and Tisha Extension. Vote Obika and vote for the UNC. And if you are a small contractor in Point Fortin and you have felt the brunt of the Keith Rowley wickedness and the silence complicit of the MP and the mayor, they said nothing whilst you lost your contracts, whilst your workers were put on the breadline. If you are frustrated with the Rowley PNM, vote for Obika. Vote for the United National Congress, and we will transform not only Point Fortin constituency, but Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Now is the time! No, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no. Now is the time to vote them out. The time is no, no, hey, hey, hey. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. Now is the time for action. Now is the time! No, 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 the time is no, 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 the time is no. Now is the time to vote them out. The time is no, no, hey, hey, hey. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. Now is the time for action. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to cast your vote. Now is the time to start to work. Now is the time we bring your hope. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the plan. Put up your hand if you understand. Hey!
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand is for the UNC and the rising sun, sun, sun.
Hey! What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. Now is the time for action. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to build the nation, to seek for the children education. It's time for a leader who have a plan. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to reduce the tax. Now is the time for all kinds of stuff. This is the time we're not giving up. Hey!
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action.
Now is the time to vote them out. 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 Now is the time. So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand is for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to cast your vote. Now is the time to start to work. Now is the time we bring your hope. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the plan. Put up your hand if you understand. Hey!
Now is the time to vote them out. 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 Now is the time.
Now is the time. Hey!
Are you ready?
This is a story about a country called TNT that turned yellow in the year 2020. The people want the UNC. The people need the UNC. The people want the UNC. The people need UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Put up your hand in the air, put the finger in the air. For the UNC, for the UNC, for the UNC. Put the finger in the air. For the UNC, for the UNC, for the UNC. Agriculture people can make a living under the rolling PNM. We only suffering. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. I think Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Put your finger in the air. For the UNC. For the UNC. For the UNC. Put your finger in the air. For the UNC. For the UNC. Stop all the nonsense and think TNT. UNC is the only choice to save we country. So true. Together we aspire, together we achieve. We can make a better place right here for you and me. Right here for you and me. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. I think Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Put the finger in the air. For the UNC. For the USA. For the USA. Put the finger in the air. For the UNC. For the UNC. For the UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Salute.
August 10th, put your X next to the rising sun.
No, the time is no, no, no. The time is no, no, no. The time is no, no, no.
At a time when our country is in turmoil, many are crying out for leadership. As we face a crucial general election, She presents not just herself, but her years of experience and ideas to the nation. She's not alone. On her side is the strongest, smartest, and diverse team that's ready to lead a brighter tomorrow. Now is the time to get it right with the brightest candidates, a tested master plan, and most of all, a progressive political party, the United National Congress. It's with great honor to present to the nation and the thousands online, on air, and around the world, the clear choice for Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. On the ballot now, Senior Counsel, Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Good evening. Thank you for logging on. Thank you for tuning in, and those who have joined us here. A very special thank you to our speakers here tonight on the ballot. I just want to say, before I talk about more of our plans, on reflection, the thoughts that I have, as we are just a few days away from a very great day, the day when we shall make change happen. We have had a whirlwind 5 weeks, and it was my pleasure to have been able to meet so many of you as we journeyed the length and breadth of our beautiful country. And as the song goes, your love keeps lifting me up higher and higher. We are ready. Trinidad and Tobago is ready. We are ready to get working again and to get TNT working again. But we must first learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Monday morning is not far away, but I ask you to stand firm in your convictions that we will be successful in our endeavors to create a new tomorrow for all the people of our nation. If we can but withstand the skepticism of the doubters and the snares of the unbelievers. We have seen the polls. We have heard the numbers. But I know that our strength does not lie in numbers or in polls. Our strength lies in our ability and a surety that we can create a better society together. And so as we hit the final few days, there are many who would seek to plant seeds of fear and stir up ethnic doubts in our hearts. To me, the biggest challenge is to ignore those who do not believe in our resplendent possibilities as a people and our common destiny as a nation. As we take the world out of people's eyes and they discern the artificial boundaries that have been placed in our path, we should rejoice in a newfound sense of togetherness. There are those who wish to tear us apart, but I ask you in this trying time to stand firm in our beliefs and to aim at achieving our highest aspirations rather than to give in to nativist fears. I know and I think that some fears are very real. Many people have said to me that they fear that if our party returns to power, and we will do so, they fear they will be removed from their jobs because they are not members of the UNC or because they have a different ethnic origin. Tonight I pledge to you, Trinidad and Tobago, that no Trinbagonian would be removed from his or her position party affiliation, or religious beliefs. I have been in politics too long to not admit that these things have happened in the past under several governments. And if we are not watchful, they can happen again. But democracy is a very fragile thing. If we do not watch or economic power to discriminate against anyone in our society. I am not a perfect person. Like the rest of us, I have good days and I have bad days. I face the same stresses and pains that any normal person goes through on a daily basis. We are humans, and we all make mistakes that we regret and wish we could change. I feel sorrow, I feel hurt, I feel pain when I see people affected by crime, when I see jobs being lost, homes being lost, families suffering. It may be unbelievable to some, but I do care for and love all of you. But I make decisions in the hope that I can try to improve people's lives. To those who have made me hurt, to those who may have been hurt by any decision I have made, I apologize. It is never my intention to cause pain. And so I think we will use our collective strength to build a more inclusive union in which we can all flourish. I have learned from the mistakes of the past, and that is why I have rebuilt our party over the past 5 years with a focus on diversity and youth. Young people must not be onlookers in the planning of their future, but instead they must be the ones taking the lead in developing plans and policies. Diversity breeds differing opinions and ideas, and that helps to prevent potential mistakes and poor decisions. As we come to the end of this very grueling campaign, I wish to leave with you some words taken from President Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, which is very appropriate for this time in our history. I'll make a slight amendment to his words, and these are as follows. Let us strive to finish the work we are in, and the journey of our fathers and foremothers began, to bind the nation's wounds, to care for those who have been in battle before us, and those who fought the good fight, to make us who we are as a people. And so I say to you, our task is to close the racial gap in our society. Our task is to close the gap between the rich and poor. Our task is to enhance the well-being of all our people and to strive to create a greater sense of ethnic cohesion in the only home that we know, Mother Trinidad and Tobago. Our task is to be an example to the world of a diverse and harmonious society where we can proudly proclaim here every creed and race find an equal place. We must learn, as I say, to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools. As we await the outcome of election, I ask you to be comforted by the words from the psalm, which are as follows. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. On Tuesday morning, there shall be great rejoicing in TNT, because we would have opened up a new path of prosperity, ethnic cohesion, and promise that will allow us to build a better society together as one united people. And now, we are just 3 days away from what will no doubt be a defining moment in our nation's history. We are at a crossroads. What we do on August 10th will not only determine our future for the next 5 years, but will do so for the next 50 years. How the nation votes next week will set the course for our nation's future. Tonight, I want to remind each and every citizen that Monday's election is not about Keith Rowley and Kamla. It is about you and your loved ones. It is about ensuring that your loved ones are safer. It's about ensuring that you have jobs. It is about making sure that you are able to provide for yourselves and your families, and that you are able to have a better quality of life. On Monday, we must unite as one nation to ensure the rebirth of our nation, which offers hope, opportunity, development, justice, and a bright future for all. And so I stand before you on the cusp of a time where a nation stands ready to embrace change. You know, as we journeyed through the country over the last several weeks, wherever we went, we saw people ready to break free from the neglect of the Rowley regime. We saw determined people ready to fight the dishonesty, the mismanagement, the hardship that the Rowley party has brought on our nation. In Morva, we painted Morva yellow. We went on Independence Square, only yellow. We went to Diego Martin, yellow. We went to La Hoqueta, Talparo, yellow. Wherever we went, Maruga Tableland, St. Joseph to Napuna, throughout the length and breadth, we saw everyone coming out, rallying with the UNC, coming together as one. And why is that? You know why? The people of our nation are fed up with the lies of the Rowley party. The people of our nation are fed up of losing jobs and having no income. The people of this nation are angry at having to tell their children they cannot afford to put meals on the table, while their friends and financiers of the Rowley party benefit from millions of taxpayers' dollars. The people of our nation are tired of seeing their roads and infrastructure collapsing, whilst Faris and the financiers of the Rowley party, the Youngs and the Alwaris, benefit to the tune of millions of dollars. That is why, come Monday, they will vote the Rowley party out. You know, from the time the election bell was rung, I called on all members of our party to fight this election in a clean, respectful, and inclusive way. I call on our candidates to focus on issues that matter to people and not get caught up in the Rowley party's dirty tricks. I prepared a detailed election code of conduct, which I shared and mandated all our candidates to follow. We know the Rowley party will do anything to preserve their power. So look at the way, typical way, the Rowley party has fought this campaign. Insults, blame games, blaming me for everything, as if they forgot that they were in the government for almost 5 years. Even at their women's forum, where they claim to champion and uplift the struggles women face, they all aggressively attacked me and every woman on my team. But we remain unfazed. We remain steadfast in our dedication to respect the electorate. Over the course of our campaign, we did not stoop to their depths. We presented clear, concise plans, detailed methods to achieve our plans, and everything we have produced was grounded in deep, extensive research with a maximum chance of success. While the Rowley party gave you nothing but blame, insults, and innuendo, with no respect for reality and the magnitude of the election, we were out there meeting and consulting with people. We listened to you, we heard you, and we continue to hear your cries of concern. And so I ask you again tonight, after almost 5 years of this Rowley regime, are you better off today than you were in 2015? Are your children better off? No. Is your job more secure? No. Is your grocery bill lower? No. Do you feel any safer? No. If your answer is no to any of these questions, then you have just one choice. The only choice is to vote for the UNC on Monday. I have been on the ground throughout this period, from Maruga to Toko. I have been on the ground meeting and greeting you. I know I cannot hug you, and sometimes you want to hug me, and I have to say no, but that is just for a time. I know your challenges. I know that you are more concerned with putting food on your table and in your children's lunch kits than the 1,000,001 lies that the Keith party comes to tell you. I'm here to tell you that our plan has real solutions to real problems facing you. You know, in leadership, it is not always about making decisions on your own, just because a decision has to be made. What I've learned over the years is that giving everyone a voice at the table is what real leadership is about. And so, how would decisions be made which affect farmers, for instance, and those who are making the decisions refuse to listen to the farmers? That doesn't make any sense in a democracy. Our core philosophy has always been to listen and then lead. I was very happy to see many throughout the various sectors within our nation coming out to publicly give their opinions on our plans. I've seen members within the creative industries, for example, making public statements about the potential of our plans as it will impact on their industry, and I welcome their comments as we continue to forge a way together. We will continue to engage stakeholders as we prepare not only for government, but for real governance. We will listen to our farmers. We will listen to our fishermen. We will listen to our doctors, our lawyers, our taxi drivers, our small and medium-sized businesses. We will listen to all. We will listen and then we will lead. Everyone will always have a seat at the table under a UNC government. You know, I saw an interviewer asking WBC Camille, so what are your plans for the next 5 years? What are your plans for people of our country? And she shrugged and, oh, okay. She said, relax. Her plans for the next 5 years, she says, relax. Can you imagine if any one of you on our team had said something like that? But you see, to them, this is really a joke. It's a game for them. We and the UNC have carefully drafted strategic plans for sustainable development with emphasis on job creation, with emphasis on infrastructure development and maintenance, with lowering taxes to put more money in people's pockets, with delivering a frequent and reliable nationwide water supply, the modernization and expansion of education. And do you know they put out a manifesto, the Rowley Party, recently, a few days ago, and they have no mention of education anywhere. Someone was telling me they have children with brooms sweeping somewhere. If that is their vision for children in a nation, then heaven help us. Our vision for children in this nation is for education to allow them to take care of themselves. Our plans include facilitating opportunity for upward social mobility, especially for young people, caring for the most vulnerable in our country, ensuring safe and secure communities, much more than you could imagine. And so what our plans are, these are the pillars on which the plan is based. These are the foundation pillars. What are some of the specifics? We have a plan set out since last October. So this is no fly-by-night plan. And we have been tweaking and improving on the plan as we go along. We have set goals, and so we want to start working immediately. We have plans for the first 90 days when we take office. We will work with the central bank. We will work with the Minister of Finance. We will work with the CSO to determine the true state of the economy, the country's finances and capital projects. And we will share information with citizens so that we can then properly build and take our nation forward. So we must do that first, as I say, audit in a sense. What is the true state of the nation's finances after the wreckage that would be left by the Rowley Party? We will immediately provide the Office of the Procurement Regulator with budgetary resources. This is so important. That office has been there for 5 years, established when we were in office, when we were in government 5 years ago. And to date, the Rowley Party has not implemented and has not fully proclaimed procurement legislation. Why? Because it allows them to choose and pick their friends and their family for contracts rather than going through a transparent and accountable process. So we will move to proclaim fully the procurement legislation and to provide a regulator with the necessary resources. We will prepare a divestment plan and debt workout strategy for non-strategic loss-making state enterprises. We will repeal the property tax legislation. We will scrap the proposed revenue authority. We'll examine and address the issue of outstanding VAT refunds. We will prepare legislation for reducing personal income and corporate taxes and simplify the VAT regime. We will begin drafting legislation to fully integrate the Heritage and Stabilization Fund into a new fiscal responsibility framework. We will mandate each minister to prepare a one-year action agenda for consideration and approval of Cabinet. Each action agenda, once approved, will be included in our next budget. We will share with citizens our priorities for action during the upcoming budgetary period. We will formulate a project plan for completion of all infrastructure projects currently in train. We will prioritize the resolution of all outstanding issues regarding former county workers, cane farmers, and former petrotrin workers. We will incorporate the predial larceny squad into the TTPS. We will establish an economic strategy council. We will initiate discussions on forging economic partnerships, agreements with governments of Israel, Netherlands, Philippines, and amongst others, so that we can further take our country forward. We will implement a fully functioning sea bridge and an equally reliable and dependable air bridge between Trinidad and Tobago. We will work with stakeholders to commence operations at the Petrotrin oil refinery. We will begin a public green building pilot with the Twin Towers, Ministry of Finance and Central Bank buildings, and the International Waterfront Center. We will mandate NEHRS to conduct 4 siting exercises to consider the adoption and use of biotechnology and digital technologies within specific industries. We will immediately ban all single-use plastic straws and mandate solid waste. SWIMCOL to develop a new national recycling education program. We will initiate the process of aligning gate funding to economic priority areas and labor market needs. We will request both the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank to initiate the process of creating the National Food Security Fund, a National Infrastructure Fund, and a National Climate Trust Fund. These 3 innovative funds will mobilize financial resources for our economic development plan without raising public debt. We will not be borrowing for these funds. We will request both the Ministry of Finance and Central Bank to prepare an action plan for issuing diaspora bonds to the TNT diaspora community. In that way, our citizens abroad in diaspora can also help to fund our development here. We will re-establish the Ministry of the People. We will re-establish the Ministry of Justice. And those are some of the things for the 90-day plan. But we also have the plan to create 50,000 new jobs to improve the lives of all our citizens. Let's hear that plan for the 50,000 jobs. For the last 5 years, almost, we have seen pure health from the Rowley Party. As before COVID, over 60,000 jobs were lost. Before COVID. And post-COVID, more than 100,000 jobs have been lost. When they came into office, they promised jobs. You know what we got instead? We got the firings at TDC, retrenchment at TSTT, unemployment at UTT, almost in every sector, and let us never, ever, ever forget. They closed down Petrotrin, put in nearly 9,000 to 10,000 people on the breadline after the Prime Minister told this nation the government was not shutting down Petrotrin. The biggest lie, I would say, in the history of our country. The government, Petrotrin, our oil industry, over 100 years old, the oldest in the world. We have one of the oldest industries in oil, and then we expand into gas in the world. We had the expertise, we had the skills, and the government just shut it down. Never forget, never ever forget who blew out the flame. When you pass the petrol in the flame that you will see there, never ever forget. We must never forget when the finance minister told the unions, 0, 0, 0. We started over 143 wage negotiations. They have not started a single wage negotiation. Talk about the worst labor minister ever in the history of our country. We must never forget the greatest sin I mentioned, the day when they said all Petrotrin workers would go home, and they sent them home. No other prime minister in our national history has ever governed over so many job losses. Imagine Mr. Rowley's negotiation and failed management crushed our energy sector. It's not just Petrotrin, crushed our energy sector, sending thousands home. The closure of Yara, ArcelorMittal, 8 plants in Point Lisa crushed our energy sector. And yet with a track record of abject failure on job creation, Mr. Rowley a few nights ago said that we wanted, and we don't know how to get a plan and how to create the 50,000 jobs. We did it before, and we will do it again. We have a track record. We did it before. Since our last budget, we put the plan out there for comments and so on. What have they done? They have not created a single new job in almost 5 years they've been in office. Tonight I want to remind you, I want to remind the people of the East-West Corridor that we will create the East-West Biotechnology Manufacturing Corridor. We will develop the Piarco Aircraft Maintenance, Repair and Operations Hub. We will launch a Tamana Solar Tech Renewable Energy Park. All these will bring jobs. These will create jobs for us, bring productivity, and get TNT working again. In the West, we will launch the East Port of Spain Steel Pan Manufacturing Network. You know, I saw again this document they bring and they're calling a manifesto. And I saw in the newspaper over the last day or so, full-page ads, 2-page spreads. They're talking about steel pan manufacturing. They're talking about all the things we had in our creative industries with respect to the master plan. These fellas just cutting and pasting and thieving even ideas. Somebody told me that the storm passed us the last time because these people, they were thief even the wind, so the storm didn't want to come. They didn't want to come here. And here we go on. We will implement the West Port of Spain Trinidad Creative Arts Street. Therefore, throughout the corridor, we will restore opportunities that utilizes skills and talents of all walks of life. In Central, we will build the Digital Innovation Park at Sevilla. We will create a Brecon Castle Agro-Processing Complex. These are 2 major projects that our younger and older generations both can play a part in the development of our nation. In South, Taka spoke a bit about it. We will ensure the following: the Cedros Maruga Southwest Peninsula Economic Zone. We will re-establish the steel industry, the St. Madeleine Sugar Manufacturing Facility. And they said they are not getting into sugar, yet we are spending millions of dollars importing sugar when there is so much idle land. And the plan for this was not to put Carney back to work. The plan that we have is for private farmers who have the idle land, who use to plant cane and sell it to the factories. They will be able to get their idle lands back into production and therefore earn incomes for themselves. It will also create revenue streams for us, because in addition to saving forex, which we use now to buy sugar, we might be able to sell some of this sugar and also earn some forex. We will incentivize our energy sector. And for the Southeast, to support our southern energy companies, we will create the Point Galeota Energy Logistics Hub. There are great synergies I mentioned before with this, given what's happening in Ghana with the oil sector and Suriname with the oil sector. The Point Galeota can become an energy logistic hub. We will do the phase 2. We did phase 1, they came in, they stalled, they left everything as it was. We will come back and we will do phase 2. While the Rowley Party has robbed our nation of opportunity, in the UNC we have a very comprehensive plan, which we brought to you, as I said, since last year. And come next week, we will work to rebuild our economy to get TNT working again. No community will be left behind. No community will be left behind. No constituency will be forgotten. Every citizen, regardless of age, class, race, education, or economic background, must play a part in the development of our economy. And there we are, creating the 50,000 new jobs. I spoke to you before about the wage subsidy to help those who had jobs, lost their jobs, for the small business sectors to get their businesses going again. Government will partner with them to give a wage subsidy so existing jobs or newly lost jobs can also be reborn. In addition to that, we have a plan to deal with university graduates. I've been, as I said, on the ground over the several weeks, and where you go, you meet these young people, degrees, tertiary level education, and no jobs. They don't know where to go or where to turn. So I want to share with you another policy proposal that we have come up with, which is to create 5,000 industry-led jobs for our university graduates. Education, children, and issues affecting young people remain my top priority. This academic year, as the ones previously, thousands of our young university and college graduates are worried about not finding a job. Many are yet to be employed, even if they've graduated a year or two or more and they have their degrees. Under the Rowley government, there has been no alignment of the higher education system to the evolving needs of the private sector. There remains a significant mismatch between talent development and industry needs. We will fix this. All of this I have promised, and now with the significant decline in business activity, there are now very few opportunities for young graduates to gain employment. We cannot afford a brain drain. We cannot afford to have thousands of our young citizens seeking greener pastures outside of TNT. We cannot afford to have qualified labor sitting idle. This is what the Rowley Party has done by not putting jobs, by no diversification, and no business support at the forefront of our development. So this is what I propose. Their plan is tax, 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 borrow, 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 spend and spend and spend. How do I get these young graduates working? I can't say working again because some never had a job. We propose, as part of my pro-business agenda, to develop a graduate internship program geared specifically to the private sector. Unlike the current OJT program, where over 95% of the trainees are placed in the public sector, that is in the government sector, so they take up jobs of unfilled public sector government vacancies. This program that I am proposing, the Graduate One-Year Internship Program, will seek to place 5,000 young graduates into the hands of the private sector funded by the state. They will all undergo an online training program in digital technology integration, thereby realigning their career paths to economic areas that are in demand. This will allow the private sector to improve their business operations as well as develop new digital and entrepreneurial skills within the business itself. I expect many of these 5,000 young digital ambassadors will aid in our transformation of the business sector as we move to a digital economy as outlined in our master plan. So what this is a 5,000 young graduates, over time gradually, will be placed in the business environment, in the public sector, thereby not working with the traditional OJT, working in government offices, and therefore they will gain experience in the business sector, but also help to develop that business sector, which is where we have to go, to the private sector, to get TNT working again. How will this plan work? I don't place my plans before you in vague rhetoric. Every time we have put our plans out, we have had what we call smart targets, smart plans. You have targets, you say where the funding is coming from, and you pick up our transformation plan. You see everything that we have in there. We say where we're going to get the funds from. And with this now, we are saying we place 5,000 graduates into industry. That's the plan. The cost will be $7,562.50 per month for one. That is a salary equivalent to the present OJT graduate salary. These persons will be level 4 bachelor's graduates. And the cost of it annually, $453.75 million TT dollars. Not 22 billion that this government has spent and people are still suffering. The cost per month will be 37.81 million per month. So this is doable, this is feasible to create these jobs for our young graduates. The time period we propose in or about October 2020 to begin this program. And the unit that will be set up to make this happen will be a special purpose unit within the same OJT program. So we will have the infrastructure and administrative knowledge and expertise in the OJT program, but there will be a special unit created for this graduate program. So I just want to correct some misconceptions as we go ahead. Facts about our proposed National Infrastructure Development Fund. Well, whoever tell me to talk about this fund? Immediately I spoke about it. The trolls were out there and the naysayers were out there without any understanding of financing. Taka understands that, he will know what we are talking about. I mentioned it a little last time, but I noticed that people are still asking questions and spreading the false narrative that we intend to take people's pension funds out of the NIB, and we are going to take people's mutual funds out of the UTC. Nothing is further from the truth. Nothing is further from the truth. They have been running a smear campaign against us. They want to distract from the fact they've done nothing in the 5 years to improve your lives, and they have no real plan to take you forward. So they've been pushing a narrative, false narrative, that the UNC wants to seize money from UTC and NIB. Here's what I said we would do. Let me repeat it. A UNC government will invite the UTC and NIB to participate in our proposed National Infrastructure Fund as equity partners, using their idle cash balances. Using what? Their idle cash balances. Not the people's pensions, not the people's mutual funds, but using idle cash balances to help seed the fund's this fund's capital. Idle cash balances belong to the institutions. Idle cash balances are excess cash sitting in the banks earning zero return. So they're idle there. They belong to the institution, the NIB or the UTC. They do not belong, as I say, to the pension holders. They do not belong to the mutual fund holders. They're sitting idle and earning zero. Mutual funds and national insurance funds, furthermore, are ring-fenced. They are ring-fenced by the law of the land for the protection of the unit or pension fund holder. No government, but no government can touch or access those funds, the pension funds and the mutual funds. You cannot touch it. They are ring-fenced. It's like a fortress in the law that the government cannot touch those funds. Instead, we are going at the idle funds that belong to these institutions. The process we will use, and you see the hypocrisy of the Rowley Party, the process we will use is no different from that which they use for the CLICO Investment Fund, the CIF. So you do not touch the pension funds, you do not touch the mutual funds, you use the idle cash balances. These funds will be invested to generate a revenue stream for the companies investing. So instead of earning zero, they'll be invested to create revenue streams to come in. Again, I want to emphasize, your UTC investments and your NIB pensions are safe. They are in safe hands with the UNC. COVID-19, another set of propaganda that the Rowley Party has been pushing. We know that they have failed to properly manage the COVID, because now we are seeing more cases coming up. If they had done the proper testing from the very beginning, we would have been in a better position. But just said we close the borders. Every country in the world closed their borders. So what's new? What did you do that was different? Every country in the world closed their borders. And by the way, you're using COVID as your platform, as your ship to sail into victory for an election. It's not going to happen. It will not happen. Because every other country in the world is also battling COVID. So you are not special. What is special about you is you have failed to properly manage the COVID pandemic in Trinidad and Tobago. I want you to ask yourselves, if the COVID hadn't come along, what would this government have to talk about on their platforms? If COVID hadn't come, what would they be speaking about? Because they don't have an achievement to talk about. They don't have anything to tell you. Their plans, they're not even plans. They're half-baked ideas that they're saying that they will go forward are rehashes, repeats of the things they've been promising in every budget over the last 5 years and never delivered. It's like a cut and paste, as I said before, with no substance. Much of it is these glossy, nice pictures. The other part of it is blame Kamla. Their plan is to blame Kamla. That's their plan, to continue blaming Kamla. But that's going to work. It's not going to work now. So they've used the COVID as a propaganda tool to mask, to hide their incompetence and failures over the past 5 years. Testing around the world was increased to protect citizens. In TNT, we have undertaken only about 7,500 tests, a population of 1.4 million people. We are number 162 nation in the world for testing. We are not 100. We are not number one as they were boasting. We are 162 in the world. When it was time to secure our borders, they failed. They allowed COVID to come in through the back door. Just when you close the border, Madame Delcy on a plane flying with others on that plane. Others are coming through the back door all over down Cedros. Taka knows that all over. I am told there are even boats coming into Chagaramas, bringing in illegals. What are you doing about it? But you want to say down south, don't care, and it's down south. What do you have this obsession with the south? What is it with the south? You're saying it's because of the south people? Dr. Rowley, it is a Rowley party who is a failure, and you are the cause of what is happening today. So, schools closing, they were forced now to shut down all the schools. We don't know now, as we go into this phase, what will happen, because they're still not doing the amount of testing that needs to be done. Rowley is aware that if he admits his spike, it would only allow that to contradict his campaign rhetoric, like we handled it well. So he's playing games with this thing. Ask yourselves, if the borders were closed, where did the spike come from? Where did it come from? What the country needs now is a clear plan and the political will to take tough actions to protect our citizens. COVID cannot be stopped by the rhetoric of we protected you before, we will do it again. That's what they're trying to tell you, you know. They did it, what have you done? We need a proper plan. The UNC has developed such a plan. It is a 9-point plan, and we have published it in the media. It's on our social media pages, printed it in the newspapers and so on. I will just give you the main headings of our 9-point plan. 1, maintain closed borders. We intend to maintain or close borders to non-nationals until it is safe to reopen them. 2, establish a repatriation program for our nationals. We will open our borders to stranded nationals only, who upon arrival will place them in quarantine and so on. And we will done this to match capacity across our medical institutions and in strict accordance with World Health Organization guidelines and protocols. 3, we will provide medical support. 4, we will introduce rapid response testing. 5, we will ensure PPE for healthcare workers. 6, we will establish a COVID intelligence unit. 7, we will create a virtual safety net around TNT. Again, they don't understand the technology. This is a party, and Mr. Rowley talking about they want to get into technology, and they don't understand it. This was a man I told you came to Parliament with fake emails that any child in a secondary school I gave a laptop to would have known. They were fake emails and just pieces of papers. They do not understand the technology. So they went off on this issue when we said we'll create a virtual safety net around TNT, a dome. And it was a virtual dome. And someone told me, you know, when the commissioner of police said he will create a bubble around these CPL players, nobody asked him, what kind of bubble are you going to make? Plastic? Steel? Metal? It was the same issue of a virtual safety net. This is what we will do. 8, COVID compliance. We will deploy teams of health officials to make sure we have compliance with the COVID guidelines. And 9, a public education program. So we have a 9-point plan on which we are very clear that we can deal with COVID when we form the new government. So I thank you for that. I want to close now and to remind you, in 2015, Mr. Rowley, then opposition leader, demanded the presence of international observers. Remember that? We agreed, he demanded. We agreed with him. And we brought several international observers for that general election in 2015. Today he has found so many reasons why we have no international observers. Now we know we cannot trust this government. We cannot trust the Rowley party. From email-gate lies, Petrotrin lies, fake call, Seabridge Gate, and so many more, we have no confidence in them. But I have absolute confidence in the citizens of our beloved nation. And today I call for national observers. I call for national observers for election on Monday. I nominate every citizen as a national observer and call upon you to pay attention to what is happening around you. Look for the irregularities of the stations during these last few days and on Monday. If you see something, say something. Tell us on our UNC pages. Put it out in the social media. Arm yourselves with your cell phone and record them. Record everything that you see. Be a national observer. Tape them vandalizing banners and posters. Tape them removing the garbage bins people put in to help people. Tape them in terms of every irregularity that you see. That's what we can do, that each one of us can become a national observer for general election 2020. Do we agree with that? We agree that we cannot trust them. And when you go to vote on Monday, wear your mask, please. Wear your mask and go to vote. Come out early. Now we've seen where in the special voting over this last several days that the EBC is now asking to set up another station for special voting because the numbers of persons who came and were able to vote was very small, and there are others who still have to vote. And they want to set up another station. In effect, what they're doing is set up another day. There was one day given for those voters to vote. These were voters in the prisons. And only a small number of them were able to vote because of the delays. Now that is worrisome. And therefore it means on election day, when there will be thousands more of you going out to vote, you have to get out there early because there will be delays when you go to vote. Go out early on Monday, vote. Take your mask with you, wear your mask, and vote. They have put some guidelines. You will sanitize when you enter the voting station. Then when you go to vote, you will sanitize before you dip your finger in the ink, and you will sanitize again after you dip your finger in the ink. Do not let anyone fool you. If you do not receive your poll card in time, and many have not received it, you do not need a poll card to go to vote. You do not need a poll card. Secondly, if your ID card has expired, you can still vote. Go to the station, go vote. Do not let anyone fool you. So the choice is clear for us. I say there's only one choice. Together, we will deliver a better future for you and your family. And so, the thing that you have to do is Monday, August 10th. Come out in your numbers and vote them out. Vote the only choice. Vote UNC for lower taxes. Vote UNC for 50,000 new jobs. Vote UNC for laptops for your children. Vote UNC to get TNT working again. I thank you very much.
Hi, Senator Sobers.
Hello, hello.
I have 10 questions for you today. First one, what are you doing today?
Well, today I'm at Presentation College San Fernando, and we're doing a sanitization project here. I'm getting the school ready for the boys as they come back out for exams. And we just left NAPS doing the same thing as well, and also dropped off some hampers at Naprima boys as well too. And after this, I think I'm gonna go for a nice brief walk in Green Acres in San Fernando with my campaign management team.
Okay, so what's the first thing you do on mornings?
First thing I do, get up, say my prayers, kneel down and say my prayers, very important, and then make breakfast for my wife and daughter, and head out and take a proper sweat in the gym.
So tell me, why should I come out and vote in this election?
This election is the mother of all elections, and we in the UNC intend to create 50,000 jobs for the people of Trinidad and Tobago in an effort to get Trinidad and Tobago properly working again. We intend to put money back into the pockets of the people of this country by lowering income taxes so they have more spending power when they go out there onto the streets of Trinidad.
But let's talk about food. Curry or pilau?
Curry lao. Yes, I know it might sound very unique and weird, but it is the most amazing thing you'll eat. I have a partner out there in St. Joseph who does the best curry lao. It's a combination of pilau and curry sauce. Amazing to die for. Nico, you know what I'm talking about.
So tell me, what are you looking forward to post-COVID?
Gatherings with family members and friends. I miss those gatherings, and I would love to have those gatherings again with no restrictions of 5 or 10 persons.
What are your plans for here in San Fernando?
Well, as I mentioned, we have a plan for the country to create 50,000 jobs. 5,000 to 7,000 of those jobs will be right here in San Fernando. And it's our way of trying to get the people of San Fernando working again.
So we established that you like to go to the gym, but how much can you really bench press?
Well, the most I've ever done was about 505 pounds. But on any given day, I could crank out about 10 reps with 375 pounds.
So when you're out campaigning, what are people telling you?
People want change and they want more access. More access to their representatives, more access to their members of parliament. And I have started by doing that by giving out my personal cell phone number to all persons whilst I'm on my walkabouts. And if you don't have it, here it is, 767-8600. Call or WhatsApp at any point in time.
So I heard you can cook. When was the last time you cooked dinner for your wife?
Last week, Saturday, barbecue under the stars. A perfect end to a Saturday evening.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you win San Fernando West?
The very first thing will be to tell people thank you. And then right after that, get onto the ground and start working. In the theme of Martin Luther King, the urgency of now. Now is the time to get active. Now is the time to get working again. Now is the time that we're going to generate so much energy to get San Fernando West and the rest of this country on a proper path to productivity and working again.
Thank you, Senator Sobers.
Of course, no problem. Bye.
Now is the time! No, the time is no. No, the time is no. Now is the time to vote.
Election day when you stay in your hand. It's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. No, it's the time for action. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. What time it is? No. No, it's the time for action. No, it's the time to cast your vote. No, it's the time to start to work. No, it's the time we bring your hope. No, it's the time for action. No, it's the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the plan. Put up your hand if you understand.
Now is the time to vote them out. 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 Now is the time to vote them out.
Now is the time.
Time to get them out. The time is now. Time to vote them out. Man, enough is enough. 5 years we had it rough. PNM is drought. They take food out we mouth. And we vote in UNC. Dip your finger, UNC. We vote in UNC. Vote for Kamla, a better country. And we vote in UNC. Dip your finger, UNC. And we vote in UNC. Vote for Kamla. Time to get rid of Rowley. Dip your finger, Miss Bissessar in charge. The People's Party. PNM advantage just for too damn long. And we want back we country. With the fake oil, the country spoil. Rowley must go, go, go. Close down petrol trip. Rowley must go, go, go. Where the taxpayers' money gone, him bird can't answer. And what about the gas that they send Venezuela? And he bring in Delcy. The man is a gamer. Stuart Young is a failure. Cause every day another you getting murder. And calling him but want to bring in sports car. Confused gypsy jumping from camp to camp and I do nothing for the area. UNC, dip your finger. UNC, we vote in UNC. Vote for Kamla, a better country. And we vote in UNC. Dip your finger. UNC, and we vote in UNC. Vote for Kamla. Time to get rid of Rowley. Dip your finger.
May God continue to bless each and every one of you.
So I have to come over weekend, eh?
Yes.
Just letting you know, for sure.
This is a story about a country called TNT that turned yellow in the year 2020. The people want the UNC. The people need the UNC. The people want the UNC. The people need UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. Anti-Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Salute! No! Dip your finger in the air. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. West for the UNC. Dip your finger in the air. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear, anti-Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. No, dip your finger in the end, south for the UNC, east for the UNC, west for the UNC. Dip your finger in the end, south for the UNC, east for the UNC, west for the UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Salute.
So I have to come over weekend, eh?
Yes.
I'm just letting you know, for sure.
And everything okay.
Oh, by the way, there's a sink.
Where you going? You want to go?
It's okay, I'm just going across the road by Tara.
Come, Trinity, jump in. I don't have much time, but I'll take you to where you want to go.
But Chris are going right by Tara. Friend said, right across the road in the government building.
Really? Tara working? Since when demanding back pay became a job? Public servants is actually work. I know at the end of the day, they produce nothing. And at the end of the month, they want to collect a salary.
But what? You is the last person to talk about who don't actually work. You don't work. You never know if your family wealth. It's 5 days a week I work and sweating for this country. I leaving home in darkness and returning in darkness. Huh? What you just be doing? Driving on the road in your fancy car and Sunday to Sunday, spending most of your time on the golf course playing with your ball.
Alright, I go there. Trinity, sweetheart, call me later. We need to talk.
I'll talk to you later this evening. Tara, girl, don't let ignorant people make you lose your cool.
Nice seeing you earlier today.
Yeah. I just wish Chris hadn't come and behaved so stupid.
Hey, what? You wanna go for a drive down by the beach tomorrow? After work?
Hey, I'll come in for you tomorrow. After work.
Whose invitation will Trinity accept, Chris or Kamal?
Yellow, watch the statistic. Vote for PNM, I will never make that mistake. On the 10th of August is history. Yeah, cause everybody they missing shit. Because them bad mind, we can vote them when the rising sunrise and burn up them. I set a chatty from the red and for the use them. Anti-Kamla I represent. Alright, and when she I represent, she a fix every box, drain every pavement. I set a chatting from the red thanks to UNC. Everything nice pan the ends. Alright. When you vote them, people that the rising sun. Everybody come out and support. Each and everybody have to play them part. UNC forever, dog. When you vote, point your finger by the rising sun. Everybody come out and support. Each and everybody have to play them part. On the 10th of August, come out and vote UNC. Put the X by the rising sun. We say anti-Kamla. Hey yo, Sean Sobers. Heavy.
Hey, sir, you could help me out, please. Good afternoon, miss. I could get something to eat, please.
Chris, unlock the car a second now.
What the hell happened to you?
I just want to give her some of the fruits I have in the back seat.
It's mad, you mad?
I have a bag full of fruits. It ain't nothing to give her to.
So you want me to open my car for you to give she something? For all you know, she could be a bandit using this begging strategy, trying to catch you off guard. That is a young, strong woman. We're not supposed to be giving her any handouts. That is a young woman. She's supposed to be working to support herself. Why do you have a job, eh? Why are you out here begging and harassing people when you could be cleaning somebody else or something?
Sir, I had a job, you know, and then COVID come and the country shut down and I lost my work.
Why you need to apply for some kind of government grant or food card or something?
It ain't nothing to give her something to eat or $5 self.
I applied for all them things you're talking about. I went to the office, I lined up in the line, I asked somebody to send me an email. Just help me out now, please.
Listen, everybody have problems. You always want to help somebody. Everybody is
begging. I can't believe this. I could get something to eat, please. Thank you.
Would Trinity fall for bad boy Chris or caring Kamal?
So, Deputy Speaker, the motion before the House is the failure of the Minister of Agriculture, Lands and Fisheries to bring into production the use of the Brothers Road packing house located in my constituency, the constituency of Tabakeet.
Deputy Speaker, I cannot believe, I was shocked when I saw this motion. I was shocked. Because I also listened to my friend, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I also listened to him talking about Brickfield and Teak and this facility. And I want to get my bearings right because, you know, I'm a minister. I don't go around the place in white Oxford shirts and yellow and leather shoes. I go around this country. And I have been to Brickfield, and I'm not sure if there are two facilities. One that my friend wishes me to use for teak, and one that my friend and Mr. Devan Maraj commissioned in 2015 that I have not seen as yet.
Some 80 workers of Caroni Green Limited are affected by government's decision to close down the state company, and they are appealing to the Agriculture Minister to stop the closure.
Please, I begging you, Mr. Minister. Please save my job. Every little I work for, I buy food a week, and I try to build housing next week.
This is the only job I have right now, and this is the only income coming for my family.
CEO of Caroni Green Limited, Sharma Lala, says the state company has not been using taxpayers' money to run its operations. The company has some 50 acres of peppers and pawpaw plants in Kuva and Canupia. These crops are sold on the local market as well as exported to the US and Canada.
In an interview published in The Guardian on April 14th, I urged Trinidad and Tobago to unite in the fight against COVID-19. Being in Florida, I followed the handling of repatriation attentively. It was at the press conference on Monday, 13th of July, that the Prime Minister stated that there were approximately 10,000 nationals on the outside. Hearing this figure, I appreciated that our health system was extremely fragile and could not support an outbreak. This was from personal experience as Chief of Staff of Mount Hope Women's Hospital, when I would have to beg for an ICU bed for a critically ill patient by calling every hospital in the country, and eventually, when unsuccessful, would make the decision to use a ventilator in the operating theatre to keep the patient alive. As I assess the data coming out of the various ministries,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I ask you all to, first of all, let me welcome you, each and every one, to our second cottage meeting in the Bel Air area, Laventille West constituency. May I ask you to please stand as we join in prayer. You join me in bowing your heads and closing your eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made, that we might rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, we pray that even as we count down on the days to our national elections, that everything will work in accordance to your perfect will. We thank you for the speakers that are present to share their knowledge, understanding of the way forward for this constituency and this nation as a whole. We thank you for the members who have gathered and the supporters, undecided voters. We thank you for each and every one, members of the camera crew, auxiliaries, caterers, everything, and even our hosts for this evening. Father, as we go through this evening's proceedings, we ask your presence to be with us. For those who are on their way, we ask your guidance to bring them here safely. And even as we leave and return to our various places of abode, that you will go before us. We pray for our candidate and his family, Sean Sobers, that you will cause your angels to encamp around them and keep them safe and protected in this time. All these things we ask in your name. Amen. Thank you very much. Kindly have your seats. And good evening once again. My name is Marcus Gidari, Councillor for the Electoral District of Marabella South Vistabella in the city of San Fernando. And this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be your chairperson. And we have, as usual, a very dynamic and distinguished panel of speakers for not just our listening pleasure, but for our edification in their specific and respective professions to advise us going forward as to how we ought to handle the next 5 years for this nation. And of course, we'll be hearing from our candidate, Sean Sobers. Let me introduce our panel seated at the head table. To my immediate left, or maybe I should start from the extreme. We have Kevin Ramnarine, our former energy minister. We have next to him seated, for those of you who don't know, our candidate for San Fernando West. Let's hear it for Sean Sobers. And we also have former president of the Senate. Today has been a long day. Mr. Timothy Hamel-Smith, and we'd like to thank you once again, sir. Also, for our panel of speakers that we have some youth that you will hear from this evening, and also a business and activists as well. And as we begin tonight's proceeding, I would like to call on our first youth speaker. She hails from the upper sixth form of Naparima Girls High School, and I would like to ask to come forward Nirvana Maharaj. Let's hear it for Nirvana.
Our chairperson for the evening, Councillor Marcus Gidari, Mr. Sean Goodman, former President of the Senate, Mr. Timothy Hamel-Smith, former Minister for Energy, Mr. Kevin Ramnarine, former Mayor of San Fernando, Dr. Navi Muradali, and our candidate for San Fernando West, Mr. Sean Sobers, along with each and every one of you, a pleasant good night. As a newly eligible voter, I was unsure of whom I would lend my support to in the upcoming general elections. But having weighed my options and read their proposition, there was doubt that Mr. Sean Sobers was the way to go. Think about first. Sean has proposed the development of San Fernando Hill into the premier record spot in Trinidad. Quite the feat, I must say, but envision it. A Ferris wheel ride after dinner on the hill. The perfect Friday night date for you and your crew. I personally have not heard of any proposed projects like that aimed at elevating San Fernando Hill from Sean's opposers. I'm sure that some of you have visited the National Library in Port of Spain, where you may have bought a cup of coffee from the in-house cafe or visited their extensive technology area equipped with computers and gaming consoles. For us youths to participate. Thanks to Sean, we could have the opportunity to have that right here in San Fernando, and Library Corner could be restored to its former glory. Like many of you, I have been flooded with stories of my father and his siblings and their childhood, where they would dominate the streets of San Fernando till the wee hours of the morning, roaming carelessly and freely. How great would it be to experience life like that in these times? Safety will be the least of our concerns. Thanks to Sean, we may be able to do just that, since advanced surveillance technology will be used to make San Fernando a safe city. Imagine not having to look over your shoulder while walking down High Street. Now that is a San Fernando that I want to live in. Lastly, but certainly not least, Sean plans to establish the first government-assisted school for special learners right here in San Fernando. This is by far my favorite proposition because everyone deserves the opportunity to receive substantial income. And this is something that can be made if each and every one of us can cast your votes for Mr. Sean Sobers. My fellow young people, now is the time for our voices to be considered. On election day, vote for the man who will aid in making our youth days worth reliving. Vote for the man who will allow us to have stories to tell, even better than our own parents. Vote for Mr. Sean Sobers. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirvana. Thank you so very much. A plea and a request from one of our very own young persons in the city of San Fernando. Now is the time. Vote for Sean Sobers. As we move swiftly along, our next speaker happens to be a former regional youth parliamentarian, a former youth minister of national security, and a very active participant in the 2020 San Fernando West campaign for Sean Sobers. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of bringing on Chris Hussein.
Chair and Councillor Marcus Gadari, former Senator and Minister of Public Administration Dr. Nan Rambo, businessman Sean Goodman, humanitarian and activist Liliana Ramuta Singh, former President of the Senate Timothy Hamel-Smith, former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarain, former Mayor of San Fernando Dr. Navi Muradali, and the incoming Member of Parliament for San Fernando West, Senator Sean Sobers. Good evening. It is indeed an honor and privilege to contribute here tonight. As a young person, I found it very necessary to take the opportunity, whenever presented, to ensure that our voices are always heard. I must commend the honorable political leader for her progressive and inclusive stance, for including a well-diverse team that will face the polls come August the 10th. Quite recently, I was speaking with one of my schoolmates from high school, and she had an issue with gate. You see, you would have heard about the new gate system, but what this administration failed to speak about was the way that they toyed with gate. I question the Rowley-led government. Why are you targeting the youths? Why? I saw young Vandana posters being pulled down. I saw even young Senator Sean posters being pulled down. And we all remembered on nomination day how the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley dealt with Miss Marsha Walker. Imagine that. Imagine him. He is the Prime Minister. There should be a certain respect and dignity to that office. I ask, is the Prime Minister threatened by the intelligence of the youths? But what we must compare is the UNC and the PNM, and what do we see? Under the esteemed leadership by Ms. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, she ensured that every child had a place in a secondary school. that every toddler had a place in a kindergarten, and that every young adult had a place in a tertiary institution. When I exited secondary school, many of my friends could not afford to stay at UB St. Augustine due to the distance. What did she do then? She ensured that there was a UB South campus in Davie for the entire central and southern persons. By doing that, she would have freed up the spaces at the St. Augustine campus and make the students and staff lives easier. But you know, we don't have that anymore because it closed down and it's being used for COVID. Imagine, on the eve of an election, the PNM has brought now a manifesto. Imagine an aspiring political party. They would have known, they would have had the election date in their back pocket. They would have known that the manifesto was due. But worse yet, they just sat down and they gave us this little thing to examine a few days before. And they have the audacity to ask us to vote come Monday. We say no. We are the employer, and that type of work ethic we reject and we will not employ. As a resident in San Fernando West, I would like to file in the public domain a missing in action member of parliament. The Honorable Faris Al-Rawi has been absent. And there's no excuse for that. There's none. As a resident, I say there's none. And I think everyone here can say we have voted him in, and he has done nothing for the community and nothing for the youths. He works for us, and I think he has forgotten that. He fools no one. We, the people of San Fernando West, have seen the way that he has handled his job. And we leave that explanation missing, just like how he left us. But what I want to speak about is the many flawed pieces of legislation that he brought to Parliament. And you know, you would think that all this time he did not attend our needs as an MP. He would be a better AG, and even that was left, you know, it was left questionable, just like him. But here we have Senator Sean Sobers. Here we have someone that we need, we deserve this type of treatment. And you know what type of treatment I'm talking about? Let me share that with you. During Senator Sobers' campaign, we saw the way that he treated persons. Over 1,000 hampers were given out, and also hot meals. He ensured that he did and encouraged everyone to do their civic duty. He even launched his hotline called 610 Sean, and everyone to this date has been calling it, and they have been getting their stuff, regardless of class, regardless of whatever party affiliation, non-party affiliation. He does not see the people as UNC or PNM. He sees the people as citizens, as the residents of San Fernando West. Senator Sobers had served as an opposition senator for 3 years, where he held the government, and especially the incumbents, whenever he and his government rushed and poorly constructed pieces of legislation. He has also served on many legal clinics throughout the country, and now he is ready to serve us as our member of parliament for San Fernando West. So we really have an easy decision today. But for the past 5 years, we have been abused, we have been scorned, we have been neglected, and we have been disregarded. But now is the time. We need to stand up for ourselves and our country. Our country and our democracy is at threat. Now is the time. Now is the time that we vote. We must come out and let our fingers do the talking. On that ballot, we will seal the deal for our future and democracy. I urge everyone to be a patriot, make an informed decision. I thank you all.
Thank you so very much, Chris. Once again, a young person pleading to us, and not just asking us for our vote or support for Sean Sobers, identifying reasons to which we should be voting for Sean Sobers, indicating to the larger population that we should demand the kind of representation that we know we will get in San Fernando West from Sean Sobers. Thank you once again, Chris Hussein. And as we move speedily ahead, our next speaker happens to be a businessman and activist in the city of San Fernando. He has also been very present during the campaign period from very beginning. And at this time, I'd like for you to join me in welcoming Sean Goodman to share some remarks.
Thank you, Marcus. Good night to the head table. Good night, yes. Our two speakers before me, I think, put everything in a nutshell. So I'm going to touch a little bit on the emotional side of the show. As Marcus said, I joined, the first walk I actually joined was a walk hosted by Marcus. And I met Sean. And from that point, I realized this is different politics. Sean would listen to the residents of each area, take their concerns, and he would not just vote them. He would think about them. He would take his notes, and he would act on them. Most recently, we were walking through Laventille, and we spent about an hour talking to one family, and they have a special needs brother. And this is not unique to that one area. We have encountered many families with special need kids, young adults, and elderly. They have been forgotten. They have been forgotten in our society. Mainstream society does not accept different. What Sean is thinking is a marvelous idea. Starting in San Fernando West, Sean would create an avenue to incorporate our special people into society. The ideal will be to have kids in mainstream school, but it just does not allow for it. So the construction and the proper management of a special needs school is definitely the beginning of a model that will go through the country. And from this point, there will be no more special needs. Everybody will be accepted. Moving on from that, I would definitely have to say, Sean is 31 years old. I happen to know quite a few of his school teachers in Prince. So I've done my homework. And the man that you see now is the young man that my friends tell me about. This young man is not inexperienced. He knows where he is, and he knows where he is going. Together with Sean Sobers, this is the beginning of something positive. Chris said it, we had an absent person. He's putting out an APB, maybe we can find him before Monday. But I will say this, come Monday, it is our responsibility to support Sean, for him to support us. Sean Sobers for San Fernando. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean Goodman. Ladies and gentlemen, we're hearing many sides of Sean. I mean, many areas in which he may not have known about, things that we may not have come to have a first-hand experience with. And tonight, you know, we're really having that opportunity to hear firsthand with respect to various persons and their thoughts with respect to our candidate, as well as his vision for San Fernando West. And as we're speaking about people with vision and persons who would have had, our next speaker was a former mayor for the city of San Fernando. Dr. Navi Muradali has spent many years, all his life in the city of San Fernando. And he has had first-hand knowledge being the mayor with what some of the challenges might be for a candidate, MP, and that sort of thing. But tonight, I want to leave it up to Dr. Muradali to come and share with us some of his thoughts. Let's welcome him, please.
Thank you very much. The dignitaries on the table, and I'd like to ask Sean to come forward, please, because I'm just going to mix a little entertainment with this as well, because we are in the city of San Fernando, and we love our entertainment. So Sean, I'm going to play something for you, and I want you to answer the 2 questions. And if you answer the questions, the people of San Fernando who are looking on will know that you are a true San Fernando. And I do not want you all to assist them, please. No prompting, please. So my friend, I'm going to play this song. And you can sing along if you do it. Right, thank you very much, Sean. So you tell me, who is this singer and what year did she win the road march?
The singer for sure would be Calypso Rose. The song, if I could recall, I think it was Tempo. Yeah, because I think my mom used to play that over and over and over in the house. And
she won the road march before you were born.
Yes, 77, I believe it was.
Correct. Thank you very much. So we have a man with tempo here, right? So just on that basis, he knows his history of San Fernando. So let's elect Sean Sober. My friends, it has been a while since I have been in a political platform, but I definitely came out this year because last week Friday, Sean's campaign team invited me to a meeting about 1 street away from where I live. And when I reached the meeting, the activists, the members of the public, they were all gathering. And I saw Sean there, very humble, walking from his car to the meeting. You know, he met his guest and he sat down there. And I have been to other meetings where there is so much fanfare, there's so much hype, and they need to introduce this candidate in such a way. And then I realized that our candidate is a very simple guy. And he just really wanted to come and meet and greet and to have a conversation with the residents of my area, which is Laventille East, Cipero. And what he said at the meeting was even more profound. He spoke a lot about getting persons involved from the areas as, you know, ambassadors, and to get all of us out who would have said, okay, we do not want to participate anymore in the political process, because for most of my life I have been an independent. The first party I ever joined was the COP, and after that I remained an independent. And when I heard Sean speak over the past few weeks, and especially at that meeting, he resonated with me as an independent, as a swing voter, because he said things that would really resonate with us in terms of strong policies, in terms of good governance, effective representation. And those are the things and those are the qualities that I personally would like to hear. And I know certainly former President of the Senate would endorse those sorts of values in our candidate. So having, you know, done my homework on Sean, and I've been approached by many groupings, many politicians to work with them, to endorse them. And I said in this election, what was most important to me would be effective representation, something I had very little of in the past 5 years. And I was not going to take that chance again, because there are many issues in our constituency in San Fernando West. As a former mayor, we dealt with the homeless situation, the stray animal situation, animal welfare. There are so many issues in the city, the traffic, the roads. You have a lot of work to do, Sean. You have a lot of work to do, because that has really been neglected for the past 5 years. And one would have thought, and there are many here, I'm sure, and many listening online, would have supported the current MP because they would have thought, being a San Fernandian as well, he would have done a lot for us. And my friends, that was not the case. So tonight I'm really here to say that I have endorsed Sean Sobers for San Fernando West, and I really believe that he is the person for the job. He's young, he's energetic. I've seen his energy. Sean walked from Marabella to Gulfview, am I correct? In that motorcade a few weeks ago. That remained. So I was looking at the whole footage on my phone, and you have some energy. You definitely have some energy. And then yesterday in the Youth Fest, I saw you again. So I know that you're here. I know that your heart is in the right place. I know that you certainly would be an effective representative. And I'm really appealing tonight to all of the swing voters in San Fernando, all of the independents, people who said, I'm on the fence, I'm undecided, to get on board with Sean Sobers for San Fernando West, and let us put a good guy, a humble guy, a very simple guy to represent us, the people of San Fernando West. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nabi Muradali. You know, words from his heart, and also a quiz. I almost, I was listening to hear, is that your final answer? Let's hear it one more time for our former mayor, Nabi Muradali. Ladies and gentlemen, we really want to thank you all, for being here tonight, and it really shows, that your commitment in also not for yourselves, but for the city of San Fernando and San Fernando West as a whole, to really understand that it's all about Sean being at the helm, but all of us filling the bus as well, because he can't do it on his own. He needs every one of us to also lend support, contact people, encourage those, as Navi said. If you're sitting on the fence, there's some of those that need a little nudge to just drop over. Say one or two things that you picked up today that you may not have known about our candidate for San Fernando West, and encourage individuals to become voting person. Many people in my local government election campaign would have said to me, and as they do say to Sean, you have my support, you have my support. But what I would say to them is, your support is great, but your vote is what counts. So make sure and come out and vote. As we move along with our speakers this evening, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine, and he has endorsed and spoken with respect to the economy on numerous occasions at San Fernando West as various cottage meetings. And I know the information that he will be bringing and his modus operandi with how we should be going forward is something that we're all eager to hear. At this time, I introduce Kevin Ramnarine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, our distinguished head table, our candidate, Sean Sobers. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good night. We have an audience of close to 600 people right now, online. That's our last time I checked. So we have a big online audience, and of course we have the audience here tonight. And this is the 6th time I have been speaking at a cottage meeting for Sean Sobers. So I think it goes without saying that I endorse his candidacy, and I think he's a fine young man. And I also want to just recognize our 2 youth speakers tonight. Nirvana, I didn't realize you were an upskill, and our friend Chris, who's been with us on more than one occasion. I think we need to encourage young people to be part of the political process in Trinidad, and we must support them. And I hope the families support them too when they venture to participate in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, because we need that constant stream of talent coming forward. So Sean is part of that stream of young people who have come forward to offer themselves to serve Trinidad and Tobago. He's been in the Senate for the last 3 years. The Senate is not an easy place to be. It's a very different place from the House of Representatives. Timothy Hammersmith was the president of the Senate. The Senate demands a more intellectual, sober, but he sobers, right? Sober approach to debating legislation and so on. So he has brought that finesse to the opposition bench in the Senate. He has debated with calm and he's debated with class. He's debated with the Attorney General. So he has represented Trinidad and Tobago at the highest level, and as you know, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago is the highest court in the land. And I think Sean has done the UNC, and he's done Trinidad and Tobago well in the Parliament, in the Senate. Now, after 3 years in the Senate, he has proposed himself to be elected into the House of Representatives. And he's done so in a very marginal constituency. San Fernando West has a great history in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, going back to 1956, when we had in this constituency here, Dr. Winston Mahabir, as one of the first members of Parliament of San Fernando West. And coming all the way down to the present day, we've had people serving San Fernando West in the persons of the very distinguished Errol Mahabir, who was, I think, the longest serving member of Parliament for this constituency, served from 1961 to 1986. And then we had other notable people like Ralph Maraj and Sadiq Baksh and so on. And other people who come to mind, but I may not want to mention some of those people. I see Navi laughing. So Sean has put himself in that procession of talent that has come forward to represent San Fernando West. And it is not an easy seat. We all know that. It's always been one of those seats that represents a battleground. So we are 72 hours away from the battle, and this is the battleground. And what I expect is that we will have full support for Sean from this constituency come Monday. I know everybody here tonight will come out and vote for Sean, except those of you all who are under the voting age, right? You are the voting age, all right. So, but we need to go beyond that. And I've been imploring people to go beyond that. You have to contact and you have to reach out to 5, 6, 7 people, family members, friends, and get them and make sure you harass them between now and Monday and that they come out to vote. Because it's been said, every single election since I can remember, every single election is the mother of elections. And this is every election we hear, this is the most important election in Avi. This is the most important election in our lifetime. But I want to tell you, that day has come. Monday, the 10th of August, is the most important election in our lifetime. And I'll tell you why. Because we are in a very different and new world. And I want to now go in talk a bit about the economy and what's happening in the world. A few days ago, the largest economic actor in this country is BP-TT. The parent company of BP-TT in the UK made a very fundamental and far-reaching announcement about how they plan to change their business strategy and their business model over the next 10 years. And they said 2 very important things. And we haven't heard from the government at all about how this is going to impact us. One of the things they said is that their investment profile is going to be shifting gradually towards low carbon investments, which means renewable energy. And our transformation plan, which has been presented by the leader of the opposition, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, speaks very heavily to renewable energy. BP has said that they will be shifting their investment away from the traditional oil and gas business towards renewable energy over the next 10 years. that is going to impact us here in Trinidad and Tobago, because it means that we will have to compete even more for foreign direct investment as it relates to BP. So the second thing they said is that they will be reducing their oil and gas production by 40% over the next 10 years. So they'll be reducing it from 2.6 million barrels of oil equivalent per day to 1.5 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. How does that affect us? Well, we are one of the largest production centers in the world for BP. We account for about 13% of BP's current global production. So the question is, will that affect us? And the answer is yes, it will affect us. So the decision you make on Monday is a decision you are deciding on a group of leaders that will navigate you in this very uncertain world of COVID-19, of a world that is moving towards a digital economy. COVID-19 has accelerated many things. One, it has accelerated the movement to online work. It's accelerated the movement towards online universities. But we were way ahead of our time, if you think about it. Because under the former Prime Minister, we introduced laptops in 2010 for Form 1 students, which was discontinued, which will be brought back as of next week. We were ahead of our time. COVID-19 has also accelerated renewable energy, because energy independence is now very important, because global supply chains for oil and gas are clearly fragile and they could be disrupted by this virus or other viruses that may come. So it is important that an element of your energy security be homegrown, and that's where renewable energy comes in. And that too is also where a refinery comes in. And there has been a lot of discussion about the refinery in the last couple of weeks because of what is happening with the OWTU and so on. And clearly, that deal is not going to be signed before the election. So I think that the OWTU gets set up in this whole process. They will dance and dance until the end, and then they were left at the altar standing. They were abandoned at the altar by the People's National Movement. I have been in discussion with people who I consider to be the best minds in refining in Trinidad, the people who have run that refinery successfully over the years. And they all agree that at the very least, we could restart a part of the refinery to give us some refined product, some gasoline for the country. So it is possible that we could restart a part of the refinery. And even if it is for our own energy security in Trinidad, it is important. Before I sit back, before I sit down, permit me, I don't know how long I have. I can talk for minutes. Since Sunday night, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight the PNM is in Sangre Grande. I went to primary school in Sangre Grande. For the last week, the PNM, you notice the PNM has been talking about energy. So starting on Sunday night, the Prime Minister had a PowerPoint presentation. I think they're trying to achieve a TED Talk type environment for the Prime Minister. So he has his PowerPoint and so on, and changing slides and so on. And then on Monday night, I think it was Mr. Imbert. He had his TED Talk / PowerPoint presentation. And then they brought the Minister of Energy onto the platform. I think it was Thursday night or Wednesday night. And they've been talking quite a lot about energy. So I thought tonight, given that we have the ENLA network here and we have such a large online audience, I would take the opportunity, with the permission of the candidate and the head table, just clear the air on a couple key issues which they have been talking about. The first issue is the issue of the fiscal incentives that were introduced by the People's Partnership, Kamla Persad-Bissessar administration in 2014. They have blamed those incentives for a fall in energy revenue between 2016 and 2020. They have put up a graph. I have taken a screenshot of that graph. I've sent it to all the experts I know in energy taxation in Trinidad, and they have all come back and they've said that they believe that graph is a fake graph, right? Secondly, The fiscal incentives that we introduced in 2014 were, by the way, supported in Parliament, Mr. Hammersmith, by the PNM. It was part of the Finance Bill of 2014 and they voted for it. What those fiscal incentives did was to accelerate capital allowances. What does that mean? We have always had capital allowances as part of the fiscal regime for oil and gas in Trinidad and Tobago. It was introduced in 1992 by the then PNM Minister of Finance, Wendell Motley. I've done this research. What we simply did was change the phasing of the capital allowances to allow companies to recover their capital investment faster, and that precipitated investment decisions for this country. Those investment decisions have benefited this country in a tremendous way. They have led to discoveries of natural gas in 2017. They led to the Juniper project and the Angeline project, without which this country would be in a much worse position than it is today. Behind me is Point Lisas. It is looking a lot darker than it normally does because 8 out of the 20 plants in Point Lisas are down. And a 9th plant would have gone down, the Tringen 1 plant, but the board of Tringen announced the closure of the plant and then they announced that they're not closing down the plant again. I think that may have something to do with the fact that Tringen is 51% owned by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know. Maybe it does. And now we are being told, those of us in the industry, some of you are here from the industry, that we are being told that there is a risk that the largest methanol plant in the world on that estate, the M5000 plant, will shut down come September when its contract with the NGC expires. So we are facing industrial Armageddon in Trinidad and Tobago. All this is happening under the watch of Franklin Kahn, Colin Imbert, and Keith Rowley. But they have the audacity to come and criticize the fiscal incentives of 2014, which they supported in Parliament. And because of those incentives, we still have a reasonable supply of natural gas in this country. The second thing which I will deal with is that a few days ago, the Minister of Energy had a press conference yesterday. And the announcement, and if you all saw that announcement, 3.2 billion barrels of oil, prospective resources. So the Minister of Energy had this press conference to make this wonderful announcement that this country's, there are 5 categories of reserves and resources: proven, probable, possible, contingent resources, and prospective resources. So he made this wonderful announcement that prospective resources have grown by 774%. And that is coincidentally also mentioned in the PNM manifesto. So when I saw that, well, I was taken aback. I said, well, this is great news. But when I started to dig deeper into that announcement, he admitted that that phenomenal growth in prospective resources by 774% was as a result of the work of one company and its partners in the deep water. Those deep water blocks were awarded by the Kamla Persad-Bissessar-led cabinet between 2012 and 2014. 9 deep water blocks were awarded. In the last 5 years, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has awarded exactly 0 production sharing contracts. And now they come to criticize us. And they say we don't know anything about exploration. Because they're right. And we don't know anything about exploration. They know everything. But Franklin Kahn will go down in history as the only Minister of Energy to have never signed a production sharing contract. That is a fact. So, if it is there is positivity and good news coming out of those reserve numbers, it is because we did, under Mrs. Persad-Bissessar's government, we did what we had to do. We had the bid rounds. The bid rounds were successful. We licensed acreage. The companies went out there to explore, and the companies are finding more and more oil and natural gas, and that augurs well for the future of this country. And that is why the decision you make on Monday is a critical decision, because if you return the PNM on Monday, you are going to get more of the same. And that, of course, is the continued slide of Point Lisas, the very dark gulf of barrier that we have behind us here will continue to get dimmer and dimmer, and our future will become dimmer and dimmer. So we have a moment with destiny. We have a young man who's offered himself. He has tremendous energy. I have been working with David Naked, by the way, and I don't think anybody in Trinidad is fitter than David Naked. Right? David Naked is probably the fittest candidate in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So we have to have Sean and David Naked in a race to see who is fitter. Sean said he will beat David Naked. But we were with David Naked in a place called Raspberry Hill, which is literally a hill. And there were parts of the hill that we let him go by himself, right? Because it was almost like a vertical hill that we went up very quickly. Sean brings that youthful energy. And he also brings a passion for the city of San Fernando. Having grown up in San Fernando, presentation boys are very passionate about San Fernando. Naprima girls are very passionate about it. San Fernando has great high schools. That's a reality. Let's not compete between NAPS and Presidents. They're all amazingly great schools. Some of the best schools in the Caribbean are right here in San Fernando. He's very passionate about his city and about the people who live in the city. He has let his bucket down here. He is practicing his trade law in San Fernando. He didn't go and open an office in Port of Spain or St. Clair or something like that. He is in San Fernando practicing his law, and he is desirous of providing passionate leadership and conscientious leadership for the people of San Fernando. I give you the undertaking that he will not disappear on the 11th of August. And he will be here, unlike other people who, as you know, disappeared, right? He will be with you throughout the 5 years. And we have, as I leave, we have this tremendous decision to make on Monday, the 10th of August. And let's all go out there for Sean Sobers on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Kevin Ramnaran. And if I may, I would sum it up in basically 2 words. All that Mr. Ramnaran would have shared, and this is something that a friend of mine who watches from Miami, a Trinidadian who watches from Miami, being locked out all the way over there, said to me today. And this is basically what Kevin has been saying to us tonight. The Rowley administration is a government doing everything to win the next election, but doing absolutely nothing to govern a country. Young people will call it failure thing. And that is exactly what the Rowley administration is doing, failing us all together. Thank you so very much, former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnaran. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is an attorney at law who core practice is in the commercial area, specializes in project and banking financing. He is also a past president of the Senate, none other to support our candidate for San Fernando West, Timothy Hamel-Smith.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome to all those people from San Fernando West tonight. Very glad to be here. And it's been mentioned by our previous speakers that Monday is a critical day. But it's a critical day not because simply Monday is the day for election, but rather Monday will determine what the next 5 years is like. You will be voting in a party who will become the government that will be entitled to govern us for a period of 5 years. So as you make that decision, this is not a single moment in your life. This is a moment that will traverse over a 5-year period as to what kind of governance you will have. And what you have before you in terms of the options is very stark indeed. So you can either choose the bright glow of UNC and the rising sun, or the dying embers that are fading from the red that is just slowly dying. So that's your real choices before you. and to determine which choice you should make, not just simply relying on the fact that one is glowing and one is dying embers. What one does is look at past performance of the parties. And one of the things you do, and of course, mention was made that the PNM put out their manifesto in the last 2 days. They struggled to put it together. And if you look at it, you will notice there is not a single word in that manifesto about what they performed during those last 5 years. What was their performance? And as Mariano Brown would say in The Guardian today, the performance was zero. Zero. So the question then is that the government that you want that can produce zero at the end of 5 years to demonstrate why you should put them back in again? Or do you want a government that has shared with you what it not only has done in the past, but what is projected to do in the next 5 years? And as Kevin has told you, the next 5 years will be challenging years. They're not easy years. And therefore, it will take a dynamic, innovative, creative party in order to face those challenges. It can't be same old, which of course is an apt description of the PNM. You know, you stir the pot, but nothing new comes out of the PNM. Whereas on the other side, you have a party that understands business. You see, that's a real problem with PNM. It doesn't understand business. It is why they couldn't understand that sometimes you need to give fiscal incentives in order that you may have gains in the future. Sometimes you have to have relief from taxes in order that you could generate more revenue, not less. But the PNM does not understand that. They only understand tax you and tax you again. So you have that on the broad parameter of how you look at these two parties. And then you could look at the candidates for San Fernando West. And again, it is a very stark choice that you have to make. So you have Mr. Sobers, who, like his name, is very sober. He's straightforward, he's humble, he's trustworthy. He's here with you in San Fernando West through thick and thin. And then you have the other candidate. The other candidate who has disappeared, I understand, lost in action, and that you haven't seen for 5 years until he started to buy shovels in order to open various places that he contemplates will happen into the future. Can you believe? Can you rely upon his word? And so one of the things I think we ought to do is to look at some of the legislation that he has passed. Because it is critical. It is critical if we as a country are to move forward and do better and have business booming, is that the ease of doing business becomes better. So in 2012, our ease of business had become much more competitive than it has ever been in our history. Between 2015 and 2020, we began to slide to the point where we reached, I think it's 125. A dismal performance at least. And then I want to show you how to demonstrate that it is going to get worse. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that if Mr. Al-Rawi becomes the Attorney General in the next government, he will even get worse. And in order to understand that, just think about some of the legislation he's passed. Because It appears that he has a motto. Why do simple if you could do it convoluted and complex and nobody could understand it? If you look at each of those pieces of legislation, you recall the NGO sector, he targeted them. The NGO sector, which offers so much good service voluntarily to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that put themselves out in order to reach out to the most poor among us. And what did he do? He imposed upon them enormous difficulties. It must have cost the government upwards of 50 million just to put that in place. But the amount of money that each NGO now has to go and spend in order to comply with these regulations is phenomenal. I don't know where they will get the work, the money that the folks who were doing the work before. And why was it necessary? He said that there were one or two institutions that sent money to ISIS. So what do you have to interfere with the 2,000 NGOs for? When all you do is the police engages forensic people to trace the money and pick up the people who sent money to ISIS. But instead, he's locked down. And that's what the PNL are good at. I must give them that. They understand how to close down things. I mean, how many energy places got locked down? Closed? 8 points. So 8 point recess. So and of course you close down Petrotrin. 8 point recess. You literally closed down the whole of Trinidad, which means, of course, they had good practice when it came to COVID, to close down for COVID, because that is all they do: close down, and close down again. And here is legislation being imposed on people needlessly, to make business more difficult, to make sure, presumably, the business closes down instead of getting better, instead of growing and becoming more dynamic. So the NGO was one factor. If you look at what he's done regarding beneficial ownership, I don't know if any of you have had to fill out the forms. We in the Law Association told him, pointed to how simple it was to introduce the beneficial ownership. Nobody's against that, but he had to do it convoluted. And so I'm sure if you've ever experienced it, you will see the numerous forms that you have to fill out. The amount of time, they don't understand, the PNN do not understand that time is money. So if you distract yourself in having to do all this work, then you are wasting the time where you could have focused on your business. And so business dies under this sort of imposition by the PNM, because the ease of doing business becomes more and more bureaucratic, more red tape, more burdensome with each passing day under a PNM administration. And then the third, and there are many, I mean, I understand that the candidate for San Fernando West on the other side maintains that he passed more laws than any other Attorney General in Trinidad today. Well, he's probably right, but a lot of bad laws that does not serve the people. Because when you see a law, the first question you have to ask yourself, what is the problem? What is the mischief that you seek to overcome by way of this legislation? And so, recently introduced some land law, which has no purpose whatever, other than to make your life more difficult. If you own land and intend to sell land or buy property, you're going to find, if that legislation is proclaimed, it's passed already, you will find yourself in a quagmire. It's an earthquake waiting to happen. Kind care of Mr. Arabi. That is the kind of legislation. If you go through every one of them, well, we could spend a long time, because he did pass a lot of legislation. But all of it is as convoluted, as complex, that perhaps even lawyers work to do. and giving the courthouse more burden to undertake. Maybe that was the intention, I don't know. But we have gone backwards. So when Monday comes, you can make a decision. Do we want to go backwards or do we want to go forward? That's a crucial question. That's what you have to ask yourself. Because a vote for the PNM is a vote to go backwards. Backwards, as Kevin has mentioned, back into Armageddon. That's where we're heading. Unless we have a government which understands business, because it is business which will be the driver of this economy. And so, you might ask me, well, what is necessary? What framework is necessary for business and for good governance to reign in Trinidad and Tobago? And I'd like to suggest to you 3 elements that are vital, and 3 elements that the PNM have dodged and danced away from. Procurement legislation. 5 years ago, legislation was passed. And when it first came in 2015, Mr. Imbert tried to make amendments to it, which would have made nonsense with the entire legislation. You remember they wanted to take out government to government, and they wanted to take out that if you sell in government land, you shouldn't have to follow procurement rules. That's what they were doing. And because they didn't get away with it, 5 years have passed. It has not been proclaimed fully, and it has not been implemented at all. And so you got a decision just recently where the regional corporations were trying to give all of them, instead of using the Central Tenders Board, which is really still with us, they wanted to the Southwestern Regional Health Authority was due to be the person who would, or the entity that would give out these contracts. So that's what we're faced with. We're faced with more and more difficulty, more burdens being cast upon us. But procurement legislation levels the playing field. And the PNM obviously don't want to see a level playing field. That's what we need. That's what we need in Trinidad and Tobago in order to end the corruption that moves from the top to the bottom. So yes, many of us talk about crime that is murder and other activities which have brought us to the point of despair. But in fact, it filters down by starting with white-collar crime. That's why you need procurement legislation. Then you also need to have party financing. Well, the government promised it 5 years ago, and 2 weeks before the election, they laid it in Parliament, knowing that it would never become law. And it's not a bad model. There's some things that can be improved. I bet you another 5 years, the PNM are there would pass, and it would not become law because they don't want it. And the third piece of vital legislation in order for Trinidad and Tobago to become better, to progress, to allow business to succeed is fiscal responsibility legislation. You see, fiscal responsibility legislation creates a framework under which the government operates its business. I don't know how many of you know that the government accounts on a cash basis. And so they run in a parlor. I could move cash from here to there and anywhere because it's a cash basis on which our finance is done. There are international financial standards for governments that need to be adhered to. You need to have targets. And if you look at the UNC manifesto, you will see they have set themselves targets for GDP, for inflation, for debt to debt to GDP ratios. These are things, unless you have these frameworks within which you agree to abide, then anything can slide. And if you don't know where you're going, you don't have a target, any road will take you there. The PNM road will take you there too. But do you want to go on the bridge to nowhere? Or do you want to go on the bridge that presents itself to you on Monday, will lead you through the UNC to better governance, to productivity, to jobs, ultimately to happiness? Because that's what all of us want at the very base level. We want to be happy, but we can't be happy with the drudgery that hangs around our necks in the form of the PNM. And so when Monday comes, you have the opportunity, more than the opportunity, you have a debt that you owe to your children and grandchildren to make sure the right choice is made on Monday. And I believe there is only one choice. And in San Fernando West, the choice is Mr. Sean Sobel. I ask you to support him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamlet-Smith. And the three areas in which the PNM has failed us in the legislation that should have been passed, and we know that they're all proposed in our manifesto for the United National Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for. Our keynote speaker, candidate for San Fernando West. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in bringing on Senator Sean Sobers and our next MP for San Fernando West.
Thank you. Good night, Councillor Marcus Gadari, Chair for this evening's proceedings. Mr. Timothy Hammersmith, former President of the Senate of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Former Senator Kevin Ramnarine, former Minister of Energy under the People's Partnership Administration. Former Mayor of San Fernando, Dr. Navi Muradali. Mrs. Nam Ramgulam, former Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago as well, and all other guests who are seated here within our crowd, the listening and viewing members of the public as well too. Good evening to you all. Now, tonight for me, this evening, I was very, very happy to hear from our youth speakers who were present. It is always refreshing for me, especially, although being a young person, although I'm considered by many to have an old soul, but hearing from other young people as to what they want to see in terms of Trinidad and Tobago for them through their eyes, juxtaposing our plans for San Fernando West as well too, with respect to what they want to see in Trinidad is always quite refreshing, and it reinvigorates me and reassures me that we are on the right track together, that our plan in terms of consulting with the people of San Fernando West, both young and more experienced. I don't like to say old. I don't think anyone is actually old. I just think that they are more experienced. So our plan, through consultation with both young people and more experienced people within our society, has augured quite well, as it seems that it is quite palatable to both young and more experienced within our society. This evening, however, I am a bit upset. And I'm upset because as a young person getting involved into politics, so far my experience has been really, really decent. I have really seen the lighter side of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, I would not trade this experience for anything thus far in my life. I've met so many people throughout this constituency from many different walks of life. I've gone to places that I would not have normally gone, even though I've lived and practiced in San Fernando for quite some time. And I have really shared in some of the hurt, in some of the successes with members of the constituency. And it is an experience, as I indicated before, I would not trade for anything else. But within the last 2 weeks, I have really experienced the darker side of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have, from the beginning of the campaign, called upon a lot of volunteers to get involved. And not surprising, we've had so many youth volunteers being involved and assisting us with respect to putting up posters and flyers and whatnot throughout the constituency, because that's what politics is about, trying to get your message out there as best as you can. And it was so disheartening over the last 2 weeks to see so many posters being torn down, so many posters being vandalized, so many posters being ripped apart throughout the constituency. Our last count would have been about 18 posters being vandalized. And these acts of criminal damage did not only stay in San Fernando West, but it transpired and it went as far as Chaguanas and even to Sangre Grande. And up to this evening, I haven't heard any condemnation from any member of the opposing party with respect to these acts of violence. And at this morning, we had to wake up to see our sub-office at the Gulfview Link Road being vandalized as well too. I've received so many calls from members of the constituency, properly upset by these acts of vandalism. I received calls from parents whose children form part of that youth volunteer that I indicated before, and they want to keep their children home because they are very concerned about their safety. And I share that concern as well too, because I told myself today, enough is enough. There are many persons who volunteer at that Gulfview office, who volunteer at many of our sub-offices as well. And I'm concerned for their safety, because if these acts of violence could now be directed at the sub-office, God forbid what could happen to some of these volunteers who participate within our cottage meetings, who participate within the office as well too. And I am pleading with the persons responsible for those acts. I am pleading with members of the opposition to come out and condemn these acts of violence, to condemn these acts of criminal damage that are going through our society. I mean, election is supposed to be a fair process. All persons are supposed to be able to engage in elections without having any fear of being attacked or being violated in any of these ways. I mean, I received so many phone calls from people who were in tears this morning because of the amount of hard work that went into putting up some of these posters and flyers. As a matter of fact, I threw my mind back to about a week ago when some of our young people were going out there putting up posters. And while they were erecting one of our structures, they saw one of the opponent, the incumbent MP's poster was a bit loose. And before I could even indicate to them, well, listen, yeah, they're already doing ours. Try and fix his own. They were already tacking his poster back up to ensure that it was properly well hooked up again. That is the type of people that we have in San Fernando West. So these acts of vandalism, criminal damage, these malicious and heinous acts that are being perpetrated upon us here in San Fernando West, I want to encourage the people, not only the members of the United National Congress, but the wider public, hold fast. Do not let the actions of a few dissuade you from the job that you set out to do. That come August 10th, the mission remains the same. And we are not going to let anyone whatsoever, no matter what party, whatever position you hold, move us from that position to winning this election come August the 10th. I also want to indicate as well too that within the recent past, many things have been said by the incumbent about my good self. I mean, at the beginning of this campaign, I was boasting to a number of people. San Fernando West will be a shining example as to what a campaign should be. Clean politics. It sounds oxymoronic, but it is true. And we had that going down the line. And then all of a sudden I am hearing that I am infantile and I'm a little boy. Well, as they say, when they go low, I will continue to go high. But what I want to tell you this evening, however, is that some people are saying that I was not a patriot while I sat in the parliament. that I voted against bills that benefited this country and all sorts of other foolishness. And I indicate, and I would like to categorically say to you, there's something in the parliamentary record called the Hansard. Why don't you read the Hansard? I've walked this constituency and interacted with many persons who indicate to me that they're undecided, that they're on the fence, that they don't vote under any party lines or racial lines. I commend persons like that. I wish that it could be that case for every single elector within Trinidad and Tobago. And when I ask them, and I tell them actually, I am a young person who engaged in politics because I really want to put country first. That the colors that I am concerned with are not yet red and yellow, but red, white, and black. And I asked them point blank, have you paid attention to my contributions in Parliament? And all of them indicate yes. We listen to you. And we appreciate that you, in some instances, when necessary, you support the government. You lend your voice, objective criticism, constructive criticism, to make the bills better, to work for the benefit of the people of this country. They've said that to me. So anyone saying anything to the contrary, I call upon them, bring the proof, demonstrate it in the Hansard. You yourself, for the benefit of my voice, supporting you, in some instances against my own party, in some instances against the independent senators. But yet now, at election time, you choose to say something different. The dishonesty is so glaring that some of the times that you've indicated that I spoke out against you on those bills, it's so sad. The reality of the situation is that I was not even in the Senate. I was not even appointed a temporary or even a permanent opposition senator then. Do not allow yourself, Mr. Incumbent, do not lower yourself. I still call you a decent guy. Don't allow petty politics to change that about you. Or is it that I am the only one now seeing this? We started something clean. Let us end it clean as well. Let us end it clean as well. I continue to walk. I continue to consult. Because that's the only way we're going to grow. That's the only way we're going to actually be able to deliver to the people of this country. No matter what party you support. I remember growing up and asking my mother when I saw the MP's office, if this person is attached to a particular party, why isn't the office painted in those colors, red or yellow? And she told me, when you're elected, you're here to serve every single person in the constituency. Party colors and politics should never matter. And it is with those words that I move my efforts towards making San Fernando West a much better place. It is with those words that my drive to incorporate as much as I can, from as many as I can, our plans for San Fernando West. And that's why I constantly indicate that those plans are not my plans. Those plans are for the people. They came from the people of San Fernando West. They've been by the people of San Fernando West. That every time I receive a phone call from a member of the constituency, they can indicate to me, you know, I had this problem. For example, I'm concerned. September is coming up. I have this book list to sort out. I have my child's uniform to get, stationery to get. I don't know where I'm getting the money from. I was just laid off during COVID, and the list goes on and on and on. And I tell her, I said, ma'am, you looked at the manifesto? I flip through. All right, look at the back page. Every August, we are going to have a back to school drive in this constituency. So persons like yourself, who can't find the money to sort out your book list, who can't find the money to deal with your school uniforms, who can't find the money to deal with your stationery, we are going to help you. Your adolescents or your kids that are stuck at home during the August vacation, who are looking for a job, we're going to create this thing called the Jobs Bank. We're going to link with all the businessmen within the community. We're going to post up all these jobs within the constituency office. We're going to do the resumes for you. We're going to link you with the jobs. You're going to be employed. We're going to have events within the community to keep me tethered to you. We're going to have the street jam again. We're going to bring scouts from universities away to see our kids play, offer them scholarships through academia and sports. We're going to change things in San Fernando West. It is not about talking about some waterfront and some big building. We don't have the money for that. What we do have is your ideas, the ground ideas, the better issues that we are going to address that have not been addressed through successive administrations, but they're going to be addressed now because you're going to get an MP who's going to be concerned about those issues, who are going to advocate for those issues and deliver most importantly to you. I'm not going to rely on any one person because people fail sometimes. And that's why I spoke about launching the San Fernando West app. So I'm going to keep myself connected to the community through this app. You're going to tell me what your issues are, and we're going to address them. We're going to transform the MP's office into an action-oriented space. It's not just going to be about tea plates and coffee and old talk. You're going to come into that office with a complaint, and we're going to have a member of those state agencies present. You're going to go directly to them, and the office is now going to be transformed into a proper action space where we could follow up on those issues and ensure that you get relief, tangible delivery. That's what an MP is supposed to be about. And for the first time in a long time, we're bringing it right back to the people. San Fernando West being that pivotal pilot space where we'll demonstrate that to the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, what a constituency office should look like. And every single person that enters there with a frown on their face is going to leave with a smile. It could happen. It will happen. I walk around and I ask people for their support, and I know why I choose those words. At 31 years, I don't know everything. And so with your support, come August the 10th and thereafter, we're going to partner with each other. And things that I don't know, you're going to teach me. And together we will change things. We're going to rejuvenate San Fernando, bring back commerce to the city. We're going to make those spaces that people abhor to go now clean and inviting. We're going to make the city safe through the use of technology. That is how we're going to rejuvenate San Fernando to make it a commercial hub once again. It doesn't require any big set of spending at all. It just requires will. And I will do it. You will do it. We will do it together. And we will get San Fernando West working again. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Our next MP for San Fernando West, Senator Sean Sobers. You know, it's said that many times you hear it from more senior persons, when an animal is cornered, they come out biting at everything. And as expressed by our candidates, you know exactly what is taking place with the incumbent. Any and every way that they could take advantage of what is taking place with respect to progress of this constituency, they are indeed doing so. But thank you so very much. Senator Sean Sobers has shared from his heart this evening. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we bring down the curtain, so to speak. The last hurrah for tonight in Bel Air. And at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Viliana Ramutasing, who will bring thank you, closing remarks. Well, she isn't here, so I will take the opportunity on her behalf. And first of all, we would like to say thank you so very much for our host tonight, Ms. Anna Mahabir. We would also like to thank our caterers and also our TV and camera crew who've made this event live and also taken pictures for this moment to be etched in history And as I said it at one other meeting that I had to chair, you know, this is a moment in time, and so will be August 10th. And what will be your contribution in that moment in time with respect to what would then be the history of Trinidad and Tobago? We'd like to thank our speakers, our youth speakers, who've made their contribution tonight. Nirvana Maharaj, Chris Hussein. We'd like to thank our senior speakers, Chris Goodman, Dr. Murad Ali. Thank you so very much for your contribution and your endorsement. And also too for very experienced speakers, former Energy Minister, former Senator Kevin Ramnarine, also former President of the Senate, Timothy Hamel-Smith, and also to our candidate who has toiled and continue to do what is necessary to make this seat a winning seat. And not just to win the seat, but to also change San Fernando West from a marginal to a stronghold for the benefit of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And last but not least, I wish to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out to be present and show your support and input into the campaign for San Fernando West to become the United National Congress safe seat in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, get home safely, and I thank you. Sure. And we'd like to also invite you to our refreshments that have been kindly contributed, also on coffee station, and take out to just make